of time.
O'clock.
Well, hey everybody, it's Wednesday night. Here
Yeah.
we are again with another show.
This should be a good show today.
I think it'll be fun.
Yeah.
I kind of try to go through because remember, way back in the mists of 7 years ago, we did an episode. It was episode 35. I went back and checked about mad science, and we talked about like 4 different cases. And I couldn't even remember like the ones we talked about. So I looked up which ones we talked about, and I was like, okay, well I want to get like different stuff than that. So I found like 4 more that I thought were interesting and that were a little more lurid and a little more gruesome, I guess.
Crazy mad
than
scientists.
the ones that we talked. Well, the thing about it, and I was kind of thinking about this while I was reading about these cases. I'm like, when you talk about the experiments in isolation, they do actually sound kind of batshit. All right. But when you read about them in the larger context of that scientist's career, like you can kind of see where they were going with it. And in some cases, as fucked up as some of the experiments were, they did actually have practical applications and, progress science like in a significant way, even though obviously there were some ethical concerns like at the time. You know what I mean?
We're going to do the two-headed dog in this one?
Yeah, that'll be the last one we do.
Okay.
And we're going to do a couple other ones too.
Yeah, for some reason I thought we did the two-headed dog already.
No, I thought we did too.
I guess we mentioned it.
We probably mentioned it like on the Mad Scientist area show. But I looked up the cases that we talked about on there. We talked about the love deprivation experiments they did with the monkeys.
Yeah. Skinny Puppy was all off into that.
Yeah. Like I remember that, and I remember that because they did like kind of a gag about it on MST, and that's kind of what reminded me about it. And then we did the doctor authority studies. Yeah. Like where
shocking people.
No. I think we did a whole show about that. But ones where just like if you have like a lab coat on, like people like listen to whatever you have to say or whatever.
Yeah.
And then we did one like about Freud and about some weird nose sex thing he had like with this one woman. Like we talked about that. And then we talked about one of Dr. John Money's cases of sex reassignment gone wrong, like where he basically assigned a gender at birth to someone who had been born with both sets of genitalia. Yeah. And it didn't really work out so good.
That kid ended up on Geraldo a lot, right?
I think so, yeah. Like I read a book about them. Yeah. About that case. And like John Money did had a long career and did a lot of stuff like that, but the shit that he was doing back then, it was kind of like accepted practice where it's like, because a surprising amount of children or babies are born with both sets, and they're back then they're just like, what do we do? And usually they're just like, we're just gonna chop this one off. That's usually what they would do.
I'd leave it.
I mean, I would too. Well, they would now. Yeah. Obviously.
Leave it and then wait till the kid gets a little bit older.
But back then, that's what and that's what they would do now.
Yeah.
It's just that back then they're like, no, we have to put everybody into a box. So, it's just like, well, obviously we're just going to get rid of this thing.
Well, the parents are going to have to tell everybody.
And we'll just going to.
It's a boy or a girl,
Yeah.
And say, well, I think it's a girl.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. It's just kind of like. But like I said, in a lot of ways, it's better now because they wouldn't do that without any consent or anything like that. Because it's a baby; they can't consent to anything.
Yeah.
And so that was kind of a fucked up.
Yeah, and they have to mature before you definitely know. You would definitely know around puberty.
Yeah.
What the child is supposed to be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just
some of those are diseases though, and I think they'll be kind of androgynous forever if you don't give them like hormone therapy. There's a bunch of different cases, but I think if you were...
But like I said, it always, when the person is old enough, it depends on what they want to do. I mean, like, whatever makes them comfortable, that's totally fine, you know what I mean, once they become an adult, or old enough to make their own decisions, rather. But I'm just saying that it arose, I guess, when he was doing... I think he did that experiment in the 50s or 60s, I want to say. And, and it was just thing where... Like I said, it was a baby born with both sets of genitalia, and they're like, well, we'll just lop his dick off and raise him as a girl. And as he got older, he's just like, I'm not a girl. It's just, why are
Yeah.
you treating me? Why are you putting dresses on me and stuff like
Yeah.
that? So he very emphatically was not. And so
He didn't look like a girl either. It was the guy that I'm thinking of.
yeah, and so that kind of went sort of badly. And so I think we talked about that on the original show. So like I said, I wanted to pick some different stuff that I thought was kind of fun and or gruesome, like, because I thought that'd be fun to talk about. So yeah. Now, Xanada said, somewhere, where was it? I just saw it. Oh, one man's mad scientist is another man's genius. Yeah, and sometimes they're the same person. That happens too. Phantom said there once was a real mad scientist that would take human genes and splice them with animal genes on living humans on his private island. Yeah, that's the island of Dr. Moreau, I think.
Yeah, well,
But,
the Russians did that, though.
Well, and we are going to be talking about one of those
Yeah.
dudes that did that.
Yeah.
Um,
The Russian guy during World War II?
It wasn't. Well, yeah, I guess it was.
There was a Russian guy during World War II. They were trying to see if they could crossbreed humans with apes.
Yeah, that's we're going to be talking
Right.
about.
That
Yeah,
way,
yeah.
they wanted to do it like in vitro.
Yeah.
Because they'd be able to get a bunch of soldiers. It'd be like a slave race. You could get rid of them when you were done.
Well,
Like the clones out of Star Wars. That's what
that
they were-
wasn't the original intention, and they don't really know if that was going to be the intention.
That's what I'd heard. That's what the intention.
Well,
was.
that was that's like kind of an urban legend that sprung up later.
Well,
But
okay.
but yeah, but I'm just saying that's
I
not,
saw a whole other program that talked about what military program that was and everything. Stalin was involved in that.
Well, like I said, I think that was something that came up later,
And they
like
thought
as
it was-
a kind of conspiracy theory thing.
Sound like something that they would do.
Maybe. I'm not saying it's not true. I'm just saying
Yeah.
that wasn't that didn't seem to be the original intention of the scientists' research.
Okay.
Is what I'm saying. But so yeah. But we're gonna talk about that guy. Xanada said, "Imagine being able to fuck yourself." Yeah, that's kind of that was sort of what I was thinking. You know what I mean?
Probably wouldn't be very satisfying.
Probably
Then
not.
you knock yourself up.
Yeah. Oh man.
And you give birth to you.
It's like I made myself pregnant again.
You're making a horror movie right there.
Yeah. Has there been a horror movie like that?
There
Hey,
should be.
maybe we thought of like a new.
Yeah.
There's got to be
It's
a
never
horror
been
movie
covered, I
like
guess.
that.
Yeah.
Like where somebody knocked themselves up and
Yeah, he's a mutant.
that's yeah. I mean, okay. Xanada said you guys never did a show on the Soviet cannibal island either. The island of convicts who killed each other. Oh shit, yeah. I thought I wrote that down, but I guess it must have gotten lost.
Cannibal Island. That sounds good. Yeah.
Yeah, Soviet cannibal island. I'm gonna have to. I'll put that like in a poll, and then we'll see what happens. But yeah. CB said, "I guarantee a scientist watched the Human Centipede and was taking notes." Probably. I mean, like I said, that's horribly, horribly unethical experiment. And what exactly? Because the thing about it is that a lot of these scientists, as weird as some of these experiments are, most of them do seem to be fairly well intentioned, and they do have, like I said, practical ideas for what this will, result in. Like this will be good for humanity because X, Y, Z. The Human Centipede experiment, if it really existed, what good would that do anybody?
Well, he tells you.
He
tells you.
would that do anybody?
He tells you in the movie.
I don't remember.
It's to have one long digestive system.
And how would that benefit anyone?
Just having a long digestive system.
But see,
One
that's what I mean.
long
That
digestive system.
doesn't benefit.
So all the people would survive.
You're just explaining what happened. You're
That's
not
what he
explaining what the benefit would be.
He thought that was a benefit.
Those are two different
He
things.
thought the fact that it was
That
like
was a benefit for
7
him, 'cause
or
he was a
8
fucking
people
weirdo.
all connected together,
It's a fucking
and they were using one, digestive system. That was
It's
a
efficient
It was efficient, I guess.
because you only have to have
That's-
one burger and it'll
Yeah.
feed 8 people.
Yeah, but the guy in the back started to starve. The dudes in the back started to starve.
Yeah,
though.
you wouldn't get all
couldn't
the
get enough of it.
nutrients would be
Yeah,
worn
right.
out by the end. Which
Yeah.
you should have thought
Right,
of
they
that.
should have
from-
ate more. But they had a Japanese guy in the front. They had a small appetite.
Well, see, now there's where he went wrong because
Yeah.
he should have picked one of those Japanese guys that's like one of those power eater people.
Yeah, right.
They can eat like 40 hot dogs
Yeah.
in one sitting or some shit like that. And then it all would have worked out. See, let me do that shit.
Yeah.
I could have done it. But yeah. So, Camp Guy said, oh yeah, he said earlier that he had a mad science story from high school. He said, most bizarre science demonstration I ever saw, my 8th grade science teacher put 1 cup of table sugar in 2,000 milliliters of an Erlenmeyer flask and added about a cup of sulfuric acid to it. He must not have done that one before because we all had to evacuate the classroom. Whoops. Now he's just kind of like, let's see what happens. Yeah, I don't know. Xanada said, I accidentally made chlorine gas once at work. My brother did that too. I think did he do it at work? Yeah, I think he used to work at, it was either at McDonald's or Bennigan's. And I guess
bleach and ammonia?
Yeah, and he was just like cleaning in the back and he wasn't looking.
Yeah.
And then he was just like, oh shit,
Yeah.
I'm gassing myself. Like, I remember him telling me that story. I was like, oh, I bet a lot of people have done that if you're not paying attention. CB said, Jenny, the film Species 1 and 2, human DNA mixed with alien DNA. Yeah, I've seen the first Species, but it was a long time ago. I don't really remember much about it. Was that the one where Natasha Henstridge was coming down trying to fuck all the men?
Yeah, some little hot chick gets born and then she's trying to fuck all these dudes and she turns into a monster.
Yeah.
I don't remember exactly how it worked. I guess
we should probably review that at some point.
Did she get you pregnant? Is when you had sex with her? If you had
did she
sex
get me
with her,
pregnant?
She got you pregnant? No, like did she get you have?
Did she get the man pregnant?
She get the man pregnant or something?
Is it like a seahorse kind of situation?
Something like that. I don't remember.
Where the male gets pregnant?
Yeah.
Which sounds nice. Although, I've heard a lot of comedians say if males got pregnant and humans, like the human race would have died out a long time ago, which I think is probably true. Yeah, Camp Guy said, if you've ever seen one of those black fireworks snakes that come off a little puck, this was like that, only about 1,000 times bigger. The acid burned the sugar and created the giant black snake. Now I kind of want to do it. Where can I get my hands on some sulfuric acid? And now I'm on a list.
No, you can get it if you...
No, I know.
Yeah, you can get it. Metallurgy.
Yeah.
Is involved
I'm
in
totally a metallurgist, and that's totally what I'm using it for. I'm not using it to make a giant black snake in my living room.
Yeah.
I promise.
One of my dad's friends was a machinist, but he also did a lot of gunsmithing. He could make super accurate 1911 45 pistols, and he had a shit ton of fucking cyanide, and it had something to do. They were using it. They used it with treating steel, and he did the weirdest thing one time. I was a kid when I saw him do it. I can't remember exactly how. I think he took cyanide with an eyedropper out of the top of the bottle and dropped it on the end of I think it was a blade sight that had been soldered into a barrel, and he dropped it on there and it just fell out because it totally destroyed the solder that was holding it in there. It did something like, I think it was cyanide. It was something I didn't expect it to do. It's been a long time. I may have it wrong. But he just dropped something on two pieces of metal that had been soldered together, and it just cleanly fell apart like there was no solder, like there was no soldering process at all. Maybe it was mercury. I don't remember. I thought it was cyanide, but he had cyanide too. Just don't touch that. Yeah, kind of shit. Deadly.
I could poison people.
Yeah, it says that cyanide was concentrated enough.
If you had the inclination.
If you got any of it on you, it would kill you. So you didn't have to ingest it. Just touch.
I don't need to be having that shit in my garage.
If you touch some of it, it would kill you.
Because you know how clumsy I am. I would just kick it over one day and I'd be like, melting. It would just be that whole situation. Okay, CB says, in Species, she gets pregnant, but it's an instant pregnancy.
Okay.
So, like, she's just like, pat, like that. Well, that's handy.
How is this a threat?
Well, it's just faster gestation, right? So she can just, like, have alien-human hybrids and then pop them out, like a bunch of them.
She looked like somebody...
Instead of having to wait, like, 9 torturous months.
I think she was made by Giger, or designed by it. So it's kind of Giger-esque. There was
like I said, it's been ages.
2 Giger-esque.
I think I saw it when it first came out.
It's a male and a female having sex down in a vat or something.
Yeah.
I didn't really think it was that cool when I saw it. I thought it was... I remember when it came out, everybody was fucking loved it, and I watched it, and I was just like, meh.
You might like it though now, like,
maybe now,
because like I said, I don't remember a single fucking thing about it really. Yeah. But I remember it being okay, but nothing really stuck with me about it. But I have been wanting to rewatch it. I do remember that. I'm curious.
The little girl who was the alien. I remember she somehow gets infested with the alien, or the alien just looks like a human. And it was just designed to be as incredibly cute as possible. She starts off as a super cute little girl, and then a super hot teenage chick, and then like a sex goddess, and she grew up in like a few days. Like a few days, she grew to like fucking adulthood.
Again,
and then she runs out to go get laid, and like no dude could resist her. Yeah. But I don't remember what the story was. And then she ends up in a vat with another one, just like a male one. I don't really remember how it happened.
No, I don't remember either. Well, now we're really gonna have to rewatch it because like now I'm gonna have to.
I didn't think it was a big deal, but
well, like I said, I kind of wanted to see it again because I keep seeing it come up on one of our streaming services, and I'm like, man, I should rewatch that.
Okay.
Like just to see what, because like I said, I kind of remember it barely, but you know, I remember seeing it.
Remember that what they were trying to play on was what if the xenomorph was female and was incredibly hot? It would just fuck all the dudes and take over the planet.
And the dudes would be like, okay.
Yeah, ooh, yeah. But they didn't know. It looked like they just thought it was a woman.
Although
I don't even remember if it
you
could
think
talk.
they'd be suspicious, like this super hot woman that was just coming up. But...
Well, I would want to know how much this is going to cost.
Well, yeah, that's kind of the first thing. Well, though, like I said, if you're a dude and like some incredibly hot woman comes up to you and starts like madly like mashing on you, like flirting with you and stuff like that, you should probably assume that is
that's for sale.
A sex worker.
Yeah.
Because usually, like a normal woman isn't gonna do that.
No. Especially if she's hot.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah, I would be suspicious.
She's hot. She's fucking taken.
Yeah, generally, or you know, or there's other things going on. You know what I mean? I don't know. Camp Guy said one time when I was a kid, I grabbed the inside of a broken light bulb while it was plugged into the wall.
Huh.
I could feel the shock grip my heart. Yeah, I've been electrocuted a couple of times. One time, my lamp came kind of partially unplugged, and I plugged it back into the wall, and I didn't notice that where my hand was, the wire had frayed through. I don't know if the cat chewed it or something like that, but yeah, it shocked me pretty good. I went and like hit the top of my head hit the underside of the table that the lamp was sitting on because I was underneath the table. So yeah, that was fun, but it didn't do any brain damage, I don't think. Not that I noticed anyway. Not that I would notice. But yeah. All right. So you want to get into these cases or whatever. All right. So this first guy I want to talk about, and like I said, you know, we're kind of just going to focus on like the main weird experiment, but they did other things too. So don't think that this is like the sum total of like everything they did. Like sometimes they did normal shit, but it's just more fun to talk about the weird shit that they did. So we're going to talk about Robert Galbraith Heath. Now this guy, I'm not sure if this was actually his intention or not, but what he was trying to do was he was trying to, because you know how a lot of times they thought you could use like aversion therapy to get people over stuff, like, you know, like Clockwork Orange. You know what I mean? We're going to show him movies of violence and then, you know, make him like really sick, so he associates those two things. Like that kind of conditioning. Well, he thought you could do that, but it would work better with pleasure. Like, so you could, you know, let people like have like a lot of pleasure about things that you wanted them to be like, and that would work better. So what he ended up doing in this one particular experiment was essentially doing the first version of, I guess, what you would call gay conversion therapy. What he was going to try and do was essentially try and use pleasure to turn a gay man straight. And this was in 1970.
Well, the reverse has been tried many times.
Probably not in a lab setting.
No, not in a lab setting, no.
But yeah, so that's what he decided to do. And like I said, he was working on other things. He wasn't working on specifically trying to like pleasure the gay away.
Yeah.
Like he was just trying to use this to any kind of like behavior that was, you know, not ideal, I guess. He was going to try and condition it away, but by using pleasure instead of punishment, essentially is what he was doing. So it so happened that he had this 24-year-old man who had come to him for psychiatric treatment. The man is never named because he was in a couple of papers. So he's usually just called B19. This all happened in New Orleans at Tulane University.
Okay.
So the guy, all he's described as in the paper that they wrote about him, there was actually 2 papers written about him, was a single white male of unremarkable gestation and birth.
The hell does that mean?
I guess that means nothing weird happened to him in the womb and he was born okay.
Okay.
But what a weird thing to...
Yeah. What year was this again?
1970.
Okay.
So yeah. So this guy...
He was a Joe Blow.
Yeah.
Blowing all those Joes.
Well, not yeah. Some he was a hustler,
Okay.
but not. He just did it like every now and then, like
When he needed the money.
When he needed money.
When he needed the money.
Yeah. So he sought psychiatric treatment, and he was actually in a psychiatric hospital. He had like a lot of psychiatric problems. Like he came from a really, really abusive household. Like his father was just abusive, tyrannical, drunk. His mom had like never shown him any affection or anything like that. He had gone into the military, but had been kicked out after a month for quote unquote homosexual tendencies. So he had been hustling off and on for about 5 years when he sought treatment. He was also a bad drug addict. And kind of like a low rent drug. It's like I'm talking like, I mean, he did like pot and like LSD and amphetamines and stuff, but he would also like sniff paint, sniff glue,
he was huffing,
yeah, like shit like that, like pretty much anything he could get his hands on. So even vanilla extract and nutmeg and shit like that, which I don't know what the fuck that would do, but yeah, so he was basically like taking whatever drug. He also was an epileptic. He had temporal lobe epilepsy. And he had like real bad depression, suicidal ideation, and also had like a little bit of a narcissistic personality disorder.
Yes, me. This dude already doesn't sound like a good candidate for a fair evaluation for a fucking.
Well, see, the thing about it is that this is 1970.
Neutral person, yeah.
And I think, like I said, and there were, spoiler alert, there were ethical concerns raised about this study like a couple of years later, because they're like, well, he was in the psychiatric hospital. He kind of sort of gave his consent, but he was broke. He needed the money.
Yeah.
He was sort of like, I don't know if he was kind of shanghaied into it or
so he wasn't really willing.
Right. And there were also like other issues which I'll get into later that they didn't really consider.
Yeah. This experiment's already going wrong. They need to have just a totally normal gay dude. He's just from a good family, just totally, and that he has to at least kind of have some interest in, yeah, maybe I could be straight. Let's see if it works. He has to have that kind of attitude, I think. Because if he does, if there's any resistance, then that's going to throw it out of that's going to throw the experiment. You know
I mean, you have to have.
Because you can't do anything against. You can't be forced to do anything against your will. Brainwashing really doesn't work that well. You can influence people, but there are just certain things about them that you're not going to be able to change if they don't want the change to happen.
Yeah. And like you said, this guy, I think that the scientist was just kind of jazzed because it's like, oh, here's a gay man and I can try the shit out on him.
Right.
Even though he came there for help for his other problems, he didn't seem particularly concerned, as far as I could tell, about the hustling. Or about being gay. He didn't seem concerned about that. Like, he had a bunch of other problems, obviously. He was like a drug addict and things of that nature. So it seems kind of shitty that, instead of trying to solve that problem, they're like, oh, well, let's see if we can make him straight. Yeah. Because he didn't seem that bothered.
In my experience so far, there are gay dudes out there that have sex with women. Fucking, if they meet a girl they like them, they'll have sex with them. It doesn't turn them straight, though.
No.
But I think you could probably take a gay dude and condition him to get into heterosexuality, but I don't think it'd make him straight. He'd just be bisexual, probably.
Yeah, well, like that's I said, and we're gonna talk, and that's kind of what I want to get into with this study, because I thought this was kind of interesting how this turned out. Even though, like I said, all of these experiments are wildly unethical. This one in particular, but just the outcome of it was kind of interesting to me. So, as I said, he ends up in the psychiatric care of Dr. Heath, who at the time was the chairman of the Department of Psychiatry and Neurology at Tulane University in New Orleans. Now, what they decided to do, like I said, because Heath had been working on this, essentially like implanting electrodes into your brain to like stimulate pleasure centers is what they were doing for various things. And so they decided to do it to this dude. Like I said, I'm not sure how consenting he was. I don't know if they just said, hey, take this sedative, and then when he woke up, he had all these electrodes and shit like sticking out of his skull. I don't know. But what they did was they were stainless steel and had Teflon on them, and they implanted 9 of them into his brain, and the wires came back out of his head. Like, there's pictures of it online. And then, once he, recovered from the surgery, obviously, or the operation, they gave him this control box that would... I mean, the doctors had to watch him. They didn't just leave it with him. But he was able to control which of the 9, electrodes were, activated at any one time. And it would just be like a 1-second thing, to the brain. Now, before they gave him control of the box, though, they showed him some het porn, some heterosexual porn. He did not like it. No, sir. He thought it was gross. I'm assuming they did like a EKG or something like that. Yeah. He was grossed out by it. Kind of angry.
Yeah, pissed off. Don't show me that shit.
Yeah, don't show me that shit. Yeah. And stuff like that. So yeah, he didn't like it. It didn't arouse him or anything like that. But then after they gave him the box, and he started messing around with it, like pushing the buttons or pulling the levers. I don't remember if they were buttons or levers. He started getting really into this box. Because over the next couple days, the doctors would watch him, and he learned that by pushing particular buttons, he would get really aroused, and he would feel like this euphoria. Also, he figured out which combinations of buttons would do that. And over the next few days, he did it so much that they had to take it away from him because he just kept doing it. Yeah. And then, because he's like, woo, you know what I mean? It was because it felt really good, I guess.
Imagine if you could patent that and sell it.
People would never leave the house. People would never leave the house. You know what I mean? It's just they just be sitting there pushing that fucking button all the time. Well, they've done that with rats,
with cats and
rats and stuff like that, and it's just rats will they'll just sit there and starve to death.
Yeah,
pushing the thing. Yeah, pretty much. So that's kind of the power of it. But yeah, so they had to keep taking away from him, and when they would take, because they would do sessions. Like I said, they didn't just let him take the box into his bunk or whatever, because like I said, they'd never get him to do anything. They would have 3-hour sessions where he was monitored, you know what I mean? And they said sometimes he would push that button 1,500 times, during that session. Damn. And every time they took it away from him, at the end of the session, he would vehemently protest and be like, please, can I just do it a few more times? So I guess it felt super, super awesome. You know what I mean?
Thomas Dolby has entered the chat, according to fucking Oracle. Damn, he goes, it's called bisexual.
Yeah.
Is she quoting me?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's the thing. You can't really... And like I said, human sexuality is it's very much on a spectrum, and I think it's a lot more fluid than people realize.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? It's just kind of situational, you know?
And hormonal.
That's you.
You fuck with your hormones, you can have all kinds of weird reactions.
True.
A lot of your drive and a lot of your personalities are hormonal.
Yeah, I mean, Tom knows. He's been experimenting with all that kind of shit.
Fucking, I thought I was pregnant.
Not literally, but yeah.
Yeah, when I had all that fucking I had all that progesterone in my system, I thought I was pregnant. Acting just like a pregnant woman. Crazy as fuck.
Wanting pickles and ice cream?
Yeah, just...
Not really.
Yeah, getting emotional and shit. No confidence.
It was, yeah.
Yeah.
I was just, like I said, that's just kind of, I was like, oh, that's how I feel all the time. Yeah. Sucks, doesn't it?
Yeah.
But,
yeah, a lot of you girls that feel that way, everything fucking sucks, no confidence, you're out of control, and fucking, oh my god, it's so dangerous and shit. It's progesterone.
Yeah. Well, like I said,
guys don't normally have very much of it, and fucking
and when you give it to them, they're just like, man, this sucks. I'm like, yeah, tell me about it.
Whoa, yeah, see what you're talking about.
Tell me about it.
It just
but see, it's
like any other drug.
Now you can relate.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's like the effects of any other drug.
You learn to relate a lot better, after you went through that crap, after the trend thing.
Yeah, because dudes don't experience that really.
Because you experienced what it was like to feel like that all the time.
Yeah, dudes don't really experience that. Normally our hormonal system is really flat, throughout life until after your 50s, and then your testosterone starts to fucking decline some, and you get kind of feel like you're gonna die. But so you're not dealing with a cycle. But when you take performance drugs, you're on cycles and different kinds of cycles all the time. Progesterone will make you feel all the problems that you've heard women bitching about, you go, oh yeah, that's real. No, it's an illusion. It's an effect of that drug.
Well, it's not an illusion. It is real. It's a chemical reaction.
You really feel that, but
Yeah.
it's you only feel that because that hormone is in there.
Right.
It doesn't mean that the dangers are real.
No, yeah, that's not what I meant. But you
Right.
still feel that. I mean, your
Yeah.
feelings are still.
Yeah, you feel it. So
It's still a real feeling.
so when I hear her saying things like, yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, like I said, you
Yeah.
actually got a lot more empathetic
Yeah.
after that because you had experienced kind of what that felt like.
Yeah.
And you're kind of like, oh, okay. I see what you're talking about
Mm-hmm.
now. Because I kind of feel like a lot of dudes are like, what the fuck are they bitching about? Like, because they've never,
Yeah.
they're not inside
That bitch
our,
crazy.
they're not inside our heads.
Right.
And they don't like know what it feels like all the
Yeah.
time.
The weirdest thing is to have self-confidence stripped from you. Men are fucking
See, I never have.
blindly confident in themselves.
Yeah,
Fucking
even when they have,
testosterone-
especially when they have no right to be.
Yeah, especially he's an average motherfucker in every way, and he thinks he's Superman. That's one that happens. He thinks he's.
That's
average.
very common.
That's real common.
That's very common.
That's testosterone doing that.
Yeah, I
It
know.
just gives you a lot of confidence. You feel that way. It'll help you. It help,
I can do anything.
Yeah.
I know how to do that.
having that mentality caused males to survive of all species. It'll help you survive, a male. But he's not supposed to live long anyway. Just long enough to knock somebody up, and then he gets killed.
Yeah, then
That's usually what
a
happens.
mammoth steps on you, and it's all over.
You get eaten by something. Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, introspection is not in the male's advantage. Because introspection would show, oh shit, this shit's dangerous. You wouldn't be fucking if you had introspection. That's the thing. You wouldn't be doing anything dangerous. And you have to in order to get that mission done in the wild.
Tammy said Tom crying and asking Jenny if he's still pretty. LOL.
Yeah, shit like that.
It was kind of like that.
Yeah, shit like that. It's,
Like, no, I don't think if you asked if you're still pretty.
yeah.
I don't
just-
remember
I
you
was-
asking that.
Yeah. But it amounts to that, though.
But yeah, the same kind of thing.
Yeah.
Same kind of thing. Oracle said there's social reinforcement of that male arrogance, sadly. There is.
Yeah, it's called
there
male
is.
culture.
It is.
Yeah.
Murder Hornet said he married the box, the guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was just, can I just have this box like
Yeah.
forever? I'll just take this box home and date. Like I said, if they had this box, well, they do have this box. It did exist. If they marketed that and you could just buy it, I just probably no one would ever leave home ever. You would just sit home and push the button all the time. And it would be like Wall-E, where it's all the fat people floating around on the fucking chaise lounges or whatever. So yeah. So he just would fucking whack it, and
He'd whack it.
yeah. Well, no, I mean they're saying that because somebody said, well, what if he wanted to whack off? He did.
Okay.
The scientists were watching. I guess he didn't care.
He's sitting there jerking it.
Yeah. So he's basically sitting there jerking it,
Okay.
and whatever. So this goes on for about.
While he's
10
watching the porn or while he's hitting the button?
Well, now they only showed him the porn before the button,
Okay.
and he was grossed out by it.
Okay.
And then they gave him the box that had the buttons on it
Yeah.
for 10 days,
Okay.
and he was really into that box. Holy
loved
crap!
that
And he
box,
just
right?
loved the box. And then after 10 days, they showed him the same porn again, and he's like, okay.
Yeah, he'd go for it. Yeah.
And during the heterosexual porn, he actually did get an erection and masturbated to orgasm. That was in the paper.
Okay.
And he also started talking about wanting to have sex with women.
Okay.
And so, this is where it gets a little weird. The scientist, Dr. Heath.
Brought him a woman.
Yes,
Yeah.
he hired a prostitute.
Of course.
We paid her $50, he said, which was actually not a bad chunk of change for 1970. I guess she was there for 2 hours. And they were actually really nice to her. They're just like, this is probably going to be a little bit weird, but
Yeah.
there's curtains and stuff. It's we're kind of watching, but not really. She was like, whatever. She probably
So
did.
you're going to turn this gay man straight. She's like, oh, goody.
I mean, I don't know if they told her that or if they just said, I don't know what they told her, to be honest.
I'm sure they probably told her that.
They might have told
Sure.
her that.
Sure.
But yeah. So
She's
yeah.
like, oh, this will be a challenge?
Yeah, so they hired her.
Yeah.
And they said, by all accounts, she did a really good job. They said just for the first hour, she was just talking to him, trying to build his
Settle
confidence up and stuff like that, because he was very, very nervous. He'd never had sex with a woman before.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And she was really nice to him. And she's like, let's just lay here and we'll see if anything happens. No biggie, no pressure, nothing like that. And as time went on, by the time the second hour came along, like he got like in a much better mood, and so she basically like took all her clothes off and said, hey, like basically asked him to like start feeling her up and sticking his fingers in various places, you know what I mean, and stuff like that. And as it went on, he ended up having such a good time that they did actually successfully have sex to orgasm. You know, so hey.
Now he's still got the box wired into his head, right? Or is the box not in it?
No, he has all the electrodes in his head, but they're controlled by the box.
And the box isn't there.
So the box isn't there.
Okay. So he's not cheating.
He's not cheating,
Yeah.
with the box. So B19, the guy, he's in a couple of papers, like I said, that were written about him. And these papers, I think, were the first like scientific examination of what happens to humans' brainwaves during orgasms, which is kind of interesting. The papers came out in 1972. So as I said, this experiment would be wildly unethical today. B19, he was recruited for the study. Like I said, I'm not really sure if he was entirely consenting. He was really, he was in a psychiatric facility, and like I don't know if he could leave. He was really broke, and maybe he needed the money because they did pay him for it. And they also did not consider the fact that the electrode stimulation was possibly addictive, which it did seem to be, because he just kept pushing the shit, and they had to like pry it out of his hands like every time. You know what I mean? So in 1973, they did actually have like a subcommittee of the Senate, like, went like talked about like the ethical conduct and stuff like that. But I don't. And actually, the doctor that was like the mentor of Dr. Heath, like he actually criticized the study as well. He's like, dude, that is like not cool. So the big question is, did this cure or this experiment actually work? Like, did it turn B19 straight?
I'd say no.
It's not real clear. Yeah. The thing about it is that they didn't do a huge amount of follow-up.
Yeah. Like ask him if he ever pursued women on his own after that.
Okay, so here's what they only pursued. They only followed him up with him like for a couple of years afterward. Okay, and like I said, he had been a hustler before. He was a male prostitute. Now, after the study, significantly, he did voluntarily get into a 10-month relationship with a married woman, which they thought was interesting.
Okay.
However, he also returned to hustling, but only a couple of times when he needed money.
All right.
Now, what I read, I mean, he seems to have said something about, I'm going to pursue relationships with women in the future or something like that. But another thing that I read said that B19 was not a super... He didn't have like a super high sex drive. Like he was almost to the point where he was like asexual, like he didn't really care one way or the other.
Right.
And that seems like it fundamentally did not change.
Right.
So they're not really sure if they changed his nature, if you want to call it that. Although it did open him up to more possibilities, because he did get into like a relationship with a woman later on, but he still carried on doing hustling on the side. And like I said, they didn't really follow up with him any further than that, so they don't know if it changed anything.
You could argue that him going after women was more of a thing of convenience, because in the South in the 70s, it'd be a lot easier to go after a woman than to go after a dude. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It'd be more convenient. So it'd be an easier way to move up. Just to do it the way everybody else does it. There's just, being gay in the fucking South in the 70s is dangerous.
Well, yeah.
You get killed.
Yeah.
So it's more risky. He went back to prostitution, but that might have just been for the money. He was probably just doing that for money anyway.
The money, yeah.
And you got gay dudes that'll do that just for the money. They're not really into the sex,
And that seems, like I said, he seems to have not been. Sex didn't really seem to be a primary motivator for him, at least from what I read.
Right.
So he was just, but he seemed, gay because he was exclusively, servicing males. But, he didn't seem particularly interested in one thing or another. He didn't seem that interested in sex in general.
Turned him bisexual.
Yeah, I mean, that's essentially probably what they did.
That's how I imagined it would work.
Like I
anyway.
said, they just kind of widened his horizons, I guess.
Because that's opening him up to that is not an aversion therapy from homosexuality. In other words, you're not becoming averted from that.
Right.
You're not replacing one with the other. Now you just have two options.
Yeah, that's what I mean. You now have this and this.
Right. Yeah, that's what would happen.
It's like having two cookies
Right.
instead of just one.
Right. That's how I would imagine if you ever tried to turn a straight guy gay. You wouldn't turn him gay. He would just become bisexual.
Yeah.
You're never really going to get that desire for women out of him. It's still going to be there.
Yeah.
It's just going to be something else on the side that he's doing too.
I think that's
what would
probably
happen.
yeah.
I think that would be rare. I think there are some guys that do that. Just probably through their own personal evolution, they start going in that direction. Could you force a dude to do that? I don't think so.
No.
You could force him to actually commit the act, but whether or not he enjoyed it or not, that's two different
that's two completely
different fucking things. And whether he would do it on his own, unprompted, that's two.
Yeah,
different
that's what I
things.
mean. Obviously, forcing somebody to do something
Yeah.
is not changing anything about them because you're forcing them to do
Now,
it.
some of these ancient cultures, like ancient Greece and Rome and certain parts of the fucking during the Islamic empires, adult men would marry child boys. They were pretty tolerant of that kind of shit, pedestry. And then those boys evidently grew up to be gay. So I don't know. I guess maybe if you were to catch them early enough, maybe you can kind of like program them like that to where they become rewired from an early age to be that.
Maybe, or
be
that,
gay.
or maybe that's just like all they knew, so they just kept.
That's
doing
all they knew,
it,
so that's what they adapted to, right?
Right.
But I don't know if they were attracted to women or not. Maybe they were.
Yeah, they might have been.
Yeah.
Like I said, there's no way of knowing that
Right.
because you don't know what's going on.
They're
in
all
their
dead.
heads.
That was thousands of years ago. The most recent I heard of that kind of stuff happening to be like Egypt in the 1920s. Evidently, it was real. There was a certain town they had there, or something. The way Islam was and the way certain things were interpreted, it was kind of like Afghanistan with all that bachabazi or boy play. Well, they had that going on in a city somewhere in Egypt, where they had guys marrying, 7-year-old boys, and they were tolerant of it. Totally unethical. The kid's not old enough to make a choice. You know what I mean?
Right.
But I don't know if there's any follow-up studies. If anybody went out there and found out, well, what was that boy doing by the time he reached 18 or 19? Was he still a faithful bride to this old man? Or was he out nailing chicks? What was this? I'd like to know. Be interesting to know.
Yeah.
They probably were bisexual, I would think.
Yeah. Like I said, I think that people. I mean, I'm not saying that people's natures are immutable, because people are adaptable, obviously. But
Yeah.
I do think certain people have certain proclivities or certain limits.
Genes has something to do with it.
Yeah, it's like, but sometimes I think like people have a certain subset of genes. It's like, they'll do this, subset of behavior, and they could probably get into this subset of behavior too,
Yeah.
like under the right circumstances. But I think there are some sets of behavior that some people absolutely will not do.
Yeah.
And, you'd have to force them to do it. Like,
Yeah.
but if you left to their own devices, they would never do it.
Yeah.
So and everybody's, window is different.
Yeah.
Like of
I mean,
what
they
they'll.
even got male serial killers that can transform a girlfriend into a murderer, where they're both going out together. And she would have never done that on her own, but somehow she adapted to that.
I think that's, and we
That's some
talked,
weird
that is
shit.
so fascinating to me, and
Yeah.
like that's why we've done so many shows about killer couples, because I'm so fascinated by that dynamic. And the thing about it is that I think that's not even so much, I'm not saying that some of those women didn't have violent tendencies to start with. I think 99% of them would not have done that had they not met that dude.
Yeah, and that dude
Like
got
they
him
would
into it.
never have done that on their own.
Yeah.
Although, like I said, I'm not saying they didn't have violent tendencies to start with, because some of them may have. But I think the issue there is them being just real submissive and real people pleasing and real codependent, I think, is the issue
Yeah.
there. And they're trying to please that person. They're
Yeah.
trying to impress that person. And that happens a lot, not just with serial killers. So when you get that extreme kind of
Codependency,
situation
yeah.
and that extreme codependency, I think a certain type of woman
Yeah.
will go
What's
all
weird,
the way to
what's
that.
weird though is that the female victims that have survived those couples, they almost always say that they were more afraid of the woman, that the woman was worse than the dude.
And I think that's because she's trying to like impress him.
Yeah, weird. And this is all, of course, mingled with sex, so he's altered her sexuality. Her sexual identity has now become a serial killer. Weird. So people are pretty adaptable.
Yeah. But they're not endlessly adaptable.
Yeah, another thing is that he chose that girl for a reason. To marry that girl, so there may have been something about her that made it possible.
Well, some people are more malleable than others.
Where it wouldn't be possible in other women.
You know, you can't pick like some stubborn motherfucker that's just gonna like whatever you ask her to do, she'd be like, no. You know what I mean? That's not gonna work, obviously. You want somebody that's just gonna like loves you so much or thinks she loves you so much that she's gonna do whatever you tell her to do.
Yeah.
Which is not love, really. That's just like a fucking, like I said, that's a horrible, unhealthy, codependent relationship. Jeff Yarrett said, I would imagine preferences are a lot like kinks, sparks at an early age, but it cultivates and the brain becomes accustomed to it.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, that's probably a good way of looking at it. Because I think it's kind of all along the same, like all of the same kind of thing. But so, like I said, I don't think...
A lot of the stuff that I like now, I basically liked that when I was a kid, too.
Yeah.
I like shoes, like women's shoes. I thought women looked really good in fucking high heels. I still like that. And just... Even the body styles and stuff that I liked as a kid, I still like them. So I think it starts to be ingrained pretty early. And I didn't choose to be straight. It just happened. I don't remember it.
Yeah, that's what
I'm gonna be straight. It's just like
that's what I always kind of wonder about these dumbasses that are just kind of like, oh, well, being gay, it's a lifestyle choice. I'm like, do you remember choosing to be straight? No, of course you don't.
Yeah.
So that kind of negates your whole argument right there. I don't really know. You know what I mean? Nobody, like, you just like what you like. You know what I mean? It's just, you don't think about it. I didn't think about it.
Well, we're mostly machine, too. We're like a biological machine. So in order to reproduce, you should be heterosexual. And that's what's going to be preferred. So that's probably going to be the default setting from the factory on most people. Some people won't be, though. Like, they were able to predict it, you know what I mean? Like, what is it? If you're like the fourth or fifth son born, the chances of you being gay is like 70% or something.
Yeah, that has something. That has something to do with the amount of testosterone in the womb or something like that. I remember reading something about what caused that.
They could predict who was going to be gay.
There's a scientific reason for why that is.
Yeah, so that means gayness is built into nature.
Yeah,
it's something that happens. Yeah.
Well, yeah.
There's being right-handed or left-handed.
There's like over 1,000 other species that they've noticed homosexual activity in, so it's just kind of like, it's not strange. It's
Well, we might be projecting into that though too, because you see males of other species trying to dominate one another, and it looks like sexual activity, but it's really he's making his friend submit.
Well, I would presume that the zoologists that are making these observations would know the difference.
Yeah, it's hard to say. Just because a person's a scientist doesn't mean they're honest.
Well, yeah, but I mean, they're going to know more than me sitting here talking out my ass, you know what I mean?
I'd have to see it myself. I really don't trust a lot of things that, especially, it just depends. Depends on whether or not there's any politics behind the fucking science, because they'll just use science for anything.
Eli Cash sits down. Hey guys, been a while since I've seen you guys. Just want to feel like I'm having a conversation. Well, hey there, what's up? Yeah, haven't seen you in a while. So welcome back. Santa said, I didn't choose to be attracted to Korean women. It just happened. Yeah. Yeah, like I said, you just kind of like what you like. You know what I mean?
Korean girls were cute, man. I lived there for a year. They were cute.
And as long as what you like doesn't involve like chopping women up, then you do you.
After you live there, though, after about a year, man, you get sick of Korea. You're like, man, I want to go back to the United States. Then you start seeing Caucasian women, and you're like, oh yeah, I forgot what these look like. Yeah.
I forgot what the white girls look like.
Glad I came back.
Jeff Yarrett said, I'm the firstborn, gay as a picnic basket.
Yeah.
My paternal uncle and second cousin are also gay.
Yeah. I think there's a genetic factor.
There is. Yeah. But just like everything else, it's kind of,
it's a bunch of factors happening at once.
Happening at once. Just like everything.
I don't think it's all the same thing either. Just because a guy's gay doesn't mean he's gay for the same reason another guy's gay. I think that you might arrive at that from a couple different pathways.
Like I said, people are complicated.
Yeah.
That's why we haven't figured all the shit out
Yeah.
by now. Even though you'd think we would have. So prior to Dr. Heath's gay conversion experiment.
Yeah, gay conversion.
He had also done some, but like I said, he didn't start out wanting to like convert gay people. That wasn't like his intention. He actually started out with the electrical brain stimulation on schizophrenia patients in the 50s. And one experiment that he did, or he claimed that he had done this and that it worked, was that he claimed that he could induce schizophrenia in, regular people by injecting the blood of schizophrenia patients into the bodies of healthy patients. Do I believe that? No.
Yeah, I don't see that.
Did other scientists believe it? No. So even at the time, it kind of caused a big stir, like when he published that. And most other scientists were like, nah, bro, I don't think so. And they did, so some other scientists said, I'm going to try that out. Like, they try to, like, do it too, and they're like, yeah, it didn't work. So, they were like, yeah, that probably didn't happen. Either it didn't happen, or it could be a million things. Maybe he did do the experiment, and it seemed like it worked, or his data was fucked up, or something like that. There's a million reasons. He also did a study, this was later on in the 1970s, where he had two macaques, and he trained them to smoke one marijuana joint a day, 5 days a week for 6 months, because he wanted to see what marijuana would do to the brain. And he concluded that cannabis causes permanent changes in the brain. Now, he wasn't like some anti-drug. He actually wanted marijuana to be decriminalized. But again, when he said like these particular brain changes and stuff like that, other scientists were like, nah, bro. And again, this has never been replicated. And they've done larger studies with macaques, like, testing the influence of marijuana on their brains and stuff like that. And they, had better controls and stuff like that. And they did not find the same things. So there's that. I mean, like I said, the dude, he seemed to have done some good shit, but a lot of the experiments that he's kind of known for seemed like kind of a little bit quacky to me. So, that's all I'm saying. Okay, so the next guy we're going to talk about, this is kind of interesting too. This also has to do with electrodes in people's brains, but not for jacking off. It's for jacking off, isn't it?
Yeah.
Sorry, if you weren't here Monday.
You know what we're talking about, yeah.
Jacking off, it's for jacking off. If you weren't here Monday, we reviewed the Charles Bronson movie 10 to Midnight, which has the deathless line spoken by Charles Bronson, holding up this homemade masturbation tool. It's for jacking off.
Yeah, it's out of some kind of power tool.
Yeah, it's great.
With a cop cup on.
So we said that like multiple times during the show.
It's epic to hear of Charles Bronson just chiding some motherfucker in the interrogation room for jacking off.
Yeah.
We ought to fucking get a soundbite of
dude,
that. We got to get a soundbite of that.
That would be, I should see if I could get that. That would be so funny. Like, I'm going to write that down so I don't forget. Because otherwise.
Soundbite, then we'll play that
soundbite, the jacking off soundbite.
Yeah.
I'll know what I'm talking about. But yeah, that would be funny to like insert, kind of like.
Yeah.
Insert just every now and then. When keep everyone on their toes, you know what I mean?
Is that all he did?
What?
After that experiment.
Yeah, well, I was just he did a bunch of other experiments, but that was just a couple of other ones that. And then Xanadu said 1 joint a day. This guy's a lightweight. That's kind of what I was thinking.
Yeah.
I was thinking that he was gonna give him like a whole bunch, to like see what would happen. I'm like, I got friends that smoke way fucking more than that.
Gay conversion therapy, that got a pretty bad rap back in the 80s and the 90s, and
well, yeah, because they'd send you these weird fucking camps.
Yeah, and what they're talking about is down here in the Bible Belt. You'd have religious parents find out that their kid's gay. He's like a teenager, and they got legal custody over him. They make him go to gay camp.
And then sometimes they kidnap them.
Yeah.
Like, they don't just do that for gay camp. They do that just for kids that are acting up.
Yeah.
Or
then they take all these gay kids and put them together and try to turn them to straight. And I don't see that fucking happening.
I'm like,
you're getting all
did
them
you
gay
think
kids
this
together
through at all?
This is vacation Bible camp you're talking about now. Because fucking I went to those when I was a little kid, and it's just nothing but boys and girls, and fucking they were all making out and shit. You know what I mean? It's fun.
Yeah, I mean, come on.
But vacation Bible camp was really about fucking getting laid, and making out. It wasn't too much about the Bible. I don't know what made them think that if you get these gay kids together, you're going to straighten them out. You've just now concentrated them all into one area, and they're all fucking checking each other out.
Yeah, it's just
And
going to
then
be
the
like one
dude's
big
trying,
orgy.
and the dude, and then the preacher that's trying to convert them all turns out he's gay as fuck too.
That happens a lot.
Yep, he's gay as fuck too. And everybody can control their behavior, but you really can't control what you like.
Yeah. Like I said, you can't control how you feel.
Yeah.
You can control how you react to it.
Right.
Like, and how you respond and like how you behave, but you can't control how you like what you think or how you feel about things.
Yeah. Now there was some situations where maybe like the conversion therapy might be a little more viable, where you got a guy who he's married and he's bisexual and he's trying to kick the habit for dick so he doesn't fuck up his marriage. Maybe and they wanted to fucking go to the
I can see a market for that, but that's got to be like an infinitesimally small like market.
Yeah. Honey, I gotta go to gay camp. I gotta kick the habit. You know what I mean? Every time I fall down, I land on a dick.
Man, I hate when that happens. That happens to me in here all the time.
I'm trying to be true to you.
Damn, I did it again.
I fucking fell down and landed on a dick again.
I told you every time.
He's got to make the,
It happens to me in here all the time.
Yeah,
like Tom's dick is always around.
Yeah,
and it's like you're always just
fell down this morning and the dick fell.
I know. It's like, how did that happen?
But
right here now.
So, I can understand. I can understand. But if religious people trying to go straight. Now, did that shit work? No, that shit didn't.
Of course
work.
not.
No. That dude would do that to make his wife feel better. Maybe he'd be able to control it, keep his hands to himself. But no, he was still fucking wants a dick.
Yeah.
Sure.
Like I said, it doesn't mean... Well, here's the thing. It's just kind of like, even if you're straight, you can be married and you can be like attracted to other people, but that doesn't mean you're going to fuck that other person.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like I said, you can't control how you feel about it because you're just like, oh, you look at that person and get a boner. But it's just kind of like, you don't have to fuck that person. Like I said, so you can control the behavior.
Yeah, but I think some of these bisexual dudes and everything fucking in the church, I don't think they really wanted to control their behavior. They just didn't want their wife to know.
I kind of feel like that's a lot of it. They're just like, well, I could control my behavior, but what fun would that be?
Right.
I just want to do what I want, but not have any consequences. That's what that means.
So that's probably a lot of it. And then you might have a few who are like, maybe he does have some religious mindset about where, I was supposed to be straight, but I gotta, I'm married now, you know what I mean? And we gotta purge out these sinful desires. It might be some shit like that. Now, was he able to purge out his sinful desires? No. Fuck no. No.
Especially if you're like older, if you're already an adult.
Yeah,
it's just kind of like that's pretty well established.
Pretty much.
I'm not saying that you can't like expand your horizons and open your mind when you're older and stuff like that, but it just seems like it's less likely. Yeah. Jeffy Art was talking about 10 to Midnight. Said I just saw that movie. That was wild. Proto-incel horror.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what we said because we're like, holy crap! Like we were watching it and Tom was like, oh my god, he's just like Elliot Rodger.
Elliot Rodgers, right?
Yeah.
Well, he's more like a jacked Elliot Rodgers.
Yeah. But same kind of thing. He thought he was like super cool and he was
the
mad
supreme gentleman.
He was super creepy though, and like women were like, no, fuck off, creep, because he was creepy.
I'll make you another drink.
Oh, okay. So yeah, let me. Xana said the conversion therapy was probably seen as a moral thing at the time, so I don't like to condemn people with a modern lens. In hindsight, it was a bad idea. Yeah, it's just kind of like, I don't know how I feel about that, because I'm always just, I know I make fun of shit in the past, but they really didn't know any better. But still, then I kind of think to myself, but that still, like, ruined people's lives, though. So I can't really forgive it. Even though yeah, obviously we're a lot more enlightened nowadays, even though 20, 30, 50 years from now, people will be looking back at this being like, what the fuck were they thinking? You know what I mean? But, that's good. That's what's supposed to happen. But I don't know. So I don't feel that uncomfortable. I don't feel that uncomfortable. Saying shit about, I don't know, like the people that did the fucking witch trials and all that kind of crap. They knew that shit was wrong. They knew that shit was bad. They did it anyway. They did it because they wanted to. I think because they obviously had other motives than what they said their motives were. So I don't think they were that dumb. But yeah. So I can absolutely condemn people for doing shit in the past. But I know that different, the whole context was different. I get it. All right. So the next person we're going to talk about, again, this is also about electrodes, but kind of more about mind control. At least that's what everyone thought the implication was going to be. So this is about José Delgado. Now, he was actually a Spanish scientist. He was born in 1915. And he came from kind of a line of doctors. His dad was an eye doctor, and that was initially what he was going to do as well. But when he was in medical school or something like that, he was like actually exposed to kind of one of the most famous like neurologists like in Spain, and he got really, really fascinated by the brain, like how much we didn't know about it at that time. This is back in the fucking 40s and 50s. And so he got really into that, so that he decided that that's what he wanted to do. Now, in 1950, he actually joined the faculty at Yale, because he had moved to the United States. And one of his things was he could build like little gadgets and stuff. And so he would build these little electrode things that would, rather kind of like the first experiment that we talked about, that would kind of stimulate various centers of the brain, like various areas of the brain. Now, the invention that he had, this is kind of a dumb name. I'm sure they would like workshop this nowadays. But he called it a stimoceiver, is what he called his little thing. It was about the size of a $50, about yay big for non-Americans. And it was kind of like a radio that had like a brainwave stimulator in it, and then like a receiver that monitored EEG waves, and then it would send them back on separate radio channels. Now, because they were so small, like you could kind of implant them or put them in the person's head, and like they could just like walk around, and they could be monitored doing like regular behavior. Now, what he used these for was he would stimulate emotions and control behavior to an extent. Now, he started out with animals, obviously, and eventually moved on to people. But what he was trying to do was trying to induce various things. Elation, euphoria, deep relaxation, various kind of visions, or, just a number of other things. And his goal, and people thought this was kind of sinister. I don't think he thought of it as sinister, but it sounds kind of sinister to us. It sounds kind of sinister to me, but I don't think he intended for it to be sinister. I think that he thought that if he implanted these in people's brains, I don't know if everybody's brains, but implanted them in people's brains, it would chill everyone out, and, there would be world peace and blah, blah, blah. I think that's kind of what he was imagining.
I kind of missed part of it because I was in the rest making drinks. What are we talking about now?
José Delgado. He's a Spanish.
He's putting implants in people's brains.
Yeah, like an electrical.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, like implant.
Shit, they're trying to do that now with those neural links and everything.
But this is back in the 50s.
Yeah. Right.
And he was basically saying you can put it in your head and just like leave it there. You know what I mean? So one thing that he found that he could do. And, this is pretty standard, like, I think everybody knows that this could happen, but, if you stimulate certain parts of the brain, you can cause physical reactions. You can cause a fist to close or an arm to move or something like that, and there's nothing you can do about it. You know what I mean?
Well, it sends a command.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, like, your body does it, and you're just like, what the fuck? Well, the funny thing about it, though, and he said that he noticed this with a lot of his human subjects, was that when he would make them do something with the electrode, they would say that they did it on purpose, even though he obviously knew that they had not.
Right.
Although one person, and I saw a reenactment of this, like on a History Channel show or something, where he made the guy, what did he make the guy do? I think he just made him like close his fist or do something with his arm or something like that. And he was like, well, open your fist. And he couldn't because, you know, the stimulation was still happening. And he just the guy kind of laughed and he said, well, I guess your electricity is stronger than my will.
Right.
That's what he said.
You can do the same thing with a horseshoe crab. They've actually can hook up a horseshoe crab and drive it around on remote control. You can even tap into a horseshoe crab's optic nerves and see through its eyes on a screen. They were going to use them for undersea, like an undersea drone. It's one of the things that we did. Did you know that?
Yeah, I'd heard about that.
They're so primitive that you can actually turn one into a robot, basically.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd heard something
similar to
that.
this. Same thing.
Yeah. So now one good thing that came out of this was that he there's an area of the brain called the septum verum, and it's in the limbic system. And when the doctor stimulated this area, the brain produced feelings of euphoria that were strong enough to overcome depression as well as physical pain. And so he was kind of exploring that area as like a pain relief kind of thing.
That's better than a drug.
Yeah, like because sometimes people were like they didn't feel any pain anymore, even though they had like chronic pain issues and stuff like that. So that was kind of something that they wanted to explore further. And I love this. Now, when he was doing some experiments with monkeys and apes, and he was controlling the areas of the brain that controlled aggression. And one thing that he did, he's like, there was one ape in there that was like really like an asshole. And he would just like pick on all the other apes and he was just like really a jerk. And so one thing that he did was he implanted an electrode in that monkey's brain. And then he put a lever on the wall of the enclosure because there were other apes in there. And he taught the other apes, I don't know if he taught the other apes or if they just figured it out, that if they pulled the lever, then the asshole ape would chill out. Like he would stop being an asshole because it like turned his aggression off.
Right, yeah.
And they said that there was one ape in particular, it was a female,
and
she figured it out like right away and she just kept fucking pulling it.
Yeah.
Like they said quote unquote with great gusto.
Oh really?
She kept pulling it like stop it. Right. You know what I mean? And I thought that was so fucking funny. Would you stop being a dick? God damn it. I just thought that was so funny. Like an ape flake figured that out. She was just kind of like, I'm just so sick of your shit, Carl. Yeah. It was like that.
Were they in the same cage, or he was in another?
It was like in a big enclosure.
Okay, so
like
they were all together.
Yeah, it was like a big enclosure, and like I said, there was one in particular that was real aggressive, and that's why he put the stimulating thing in there, because he was trying to get him to be less aggressive. Now, the most famous example of this stimoceiver, I think you missed when I said that's what he called it. I'm like, that's a dumbass name, but whatever.
It's 50s.
Yeah.
50s, they came up with fucking crazy shit. Yeah.
That sounds like something that should be in Fallout.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
That sounds exactly like something that would be in Fallout.
Yeah. Man, I can't wait till the second season comes out.
Oh, yeah, I hope that's soon.
Yeah.
I mean, it'll probably be a while. It seemed like a long time ago we just saw the first season, but I think it was just like a few months ago.
Yeah.
But yeah, so the most famous thing, like, the animal control thing he did, was he had, kind of sedated a very aggressive bull in Cordoba, Spain, and put one of the electrodes in its head. And then he went into the ring with this bull. And apparently the bull trainer was like, do you even have any bullfighting experience? And he's just like, sure. You know what I mean? He did not, obviously. So he goes in there, and there's video of this. He had it recorded, and it's on YouTube. So he goes into the ring with his bull, and this bull charged him, obviously, as it would. And he pulls up his little button thing and pushes the button. And the bull stops.
Yeah.
And goes ambling off in that direction. And everyone was flabbergasted. But that's kind of what he said. The region that he stimulated when he pushed the button is called the caudate nucleus. And this is supposed to control voluntary movements. And the doctor at the time, I don't know if this is really correct or not, but he did say that he thought that it caused the bull to lose its aggression. But I kind of feel like maybe the bull was still aggressive, but he was controlling his movement. You know what I mean? So it's just like he couldn't really, because those are two different things. Like I said, feeling and action. Right. So maybe he was still feeling aggressive, but he's just like, oh shit, like, and just a physical shit happened to him. Maybe. You know? I don't know.
Might have just like blanked his mind. He couldn't remember what he was doing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, why was I running?
Yeah, he might have just like forgot. Yeah, like he just like spaced out or something.
Right. It's probably.
What the fuck was I doing?
Yeah.
What? Yeah.
That's how I'm imagining it.
God, I do that all the time.
You're trying to get one thing done, and then you stop and you go, "What was I doing?" It's probably how it feels.
Yeah, maybe so. Now, so obviously, because of this and this demonstration, which some people thought was just kind of like, oh man, he's just like, it's like a fucking circus sideshow or whatever, but he was just trying to prove a point, and it did work. But once that kind of went, the 50s or 60s equivalent of viral, people started worrying about mind control, obviously.
Yeah.
And so people were flipping out about it. Like, holy shit, like if you inject these in people's brains, you can get them to do whatever you want. You know what I mean? Yeah. So people were freaking out.
One of the things about the 50s and the 60s is that they would stumble upon something, a technology that was a possibility, but it was nowhere near maturity. You couldn't use it, but they were worried about it. They were like, man, fucking, they're going to come out with virtual reality. In the 50s, they evidently had something kind of like virtual reality. But there's no way you could have brought that to the average person, and it wasn't mature as, say, like today with the fucking, what's that thing where you put the damn
like the
Oculus,
the VR goggles.
Yeah, like VR goggles. It wasn't like that, but evidently they had some stuff that was kind of like VR back in the 50s, where you felt like you were driving a car and you could stereo sound and you could feel wind blowing. It wasn't even computer though. You know what I mean? It was like it was television. Television cameras,
so probably not.
And they could put you in a situation where it felt like you really were driving the car when you went in there. But it was just a prototype machine that they came up with. But based on that, they were taking that idea and running with it. Virtual reality. The government would use that to control our minds or to make us think this and that. But that shit was shit. You don't even really have it now. Well, you have it now, but people aren't even really interested in it.
Well, see, that's the thing. That's why I don't worry about crap like that, because one, science never unfolds the way you think it will.
Yeah.
And two, worrying about shit is not going to do shit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I guess the second thing is kind of tied to the first thing, because it's like every single new technology that comes out, well, not maybe every single thing, like maybe not toasters and shit, but you know what I mean? Just like every single significant technology that comes out, somebody somewhere or several somebodies are going to decry, oh my god, it's the end of fucking civilization. There's just always going to be people like that just want to, I don't know if they get off on thinking the world's going to end or everything's going to shit or something. Like, I don't understand that mindset. I guess they just like to be miserable. But I don't get the mindset of just being like afraid of everything. Like, yes, there are obviously negative connotations to a lot of technology, sure. But that's true of everything. And it's just kind of a thing where you have to look at it in a way that's, do the positives of this outweigh the negatives? Because everything has negative sides to it, obviously. But it's just kind of like, well, are the positives enough to outweigh that?
Nowadays, technology moves so fast, nothing's around long enough to fucking have an effect. I remember seems like only a few years ago, there was this damn pack of fucking cigarettes that I had, electronic cigarettes that would charge itself in the thing, and I thought the thing was so fucking cool, and it became obsolete instantly. Remember? And then I started doing mods and stuff, and then eventually I didn't even have to smoke, so I didn't even really care about vaping.
I can't believe how much money we spent like on all that vape stuff.
It got me out of smoking.
It did, yeah. I guess it saved us money in the long run.
It saved us money. It was cheaper than smoking, actually.
Yeah.
cheaper than smoking, and I have a lot of that shit. I try to vape every now and then in a club, and I like cough my ass off.
Yeah, because
like,
we know people that still vape. Not that many. Like it seems like most people have stopped by now, but every now and then, like somebody. I don't usually try it anymore because I'm not.
I smoked for 20 years. I would have been smoking without vaping.
And you liked smoking.
I liked smoking, and I loved vaping. Then eventually I got to the point where I was just like down to zero nicotine, and I got sick of hauling that fucking mod around and worrying about it. I just I'll leave it, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
I realized I didn't need it.
It's fussy. You have to take that. You have to take batteries. You have to take liquid. You have to take all this other stuff.
Yeah.
Like to go with it. So.
Got to the point where I wasn't really getting anything out of it anymore, so but I don't smoke. And it was a Chinese invention.
Yeah.
So I thank you for the Chinese.
Yeah, like I said, when you started vaping, you quit smoking like instantly.
Instantly, same day.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was for me. It was good enough. It's like, yeah, this is like smoking.
Yeah.
And then I got into that. For a while, I liked vaping more than I ever liked smoking.
Yeah, you were into that for a little while, and then we just both kind of got bored with it.
Yeah, I was fucking blowing huge fucking clouds, using fucking big high wattage mods, and I was using mechanical mods, which are fucking dangerous as fuck. Those things tasted so good though, real good fucking. I was making my own e-liquid. Although I really couldn't match some of the good store-bought shit, though. And eventually I just got to the point where I was just like, man, I don't really need this. I'm not going to take it with me in case there's too much room. A week later, I'm not vaping. I'm like, well, I guess it did its job.
Yeah.
I stopped smoking. And fucking stopping smoking was a huge fucking bonus. Man, saved a lot of money and felt a lot better.
I mean, I'm glad I smoked too, but I hadn't smoked for as long as you had.
Right, you only smoked for a few years.
Yeah. Mr. Nephilim said, I quit smoking the day I got divorced. Two bad habits done with in 2003. Yeah, I mean, it really is. I did enjoy smoking while I was doing it, but it's just, it's expensive. It's kind of gross.
Yeah, it smells bad now.
And it's just kind of like, it's really, really bad for you.
Yeah. If you want to do anything like that.
My grandpa died from that.
Yeah, but it killed my dad.
Yeah.
He lived a life expectancy anyway, but, still.
Yeah, I mean, my grandpa had the oxygen tank and all that kind of stuff. So he smoked for years and years.
What really kind of killed my dad was diabetes.
Yeah, well, he had multiple problems.
Yeah,
my grandfather did too.
But the diabetes is what caused all those other problems.
Yeah.
The smoking was just kind of icing on the cake.
Yeah, I'm sure it didn't help.
No. He had cancer
at
the time of his death, but that's not what killed him.
Yeah.
It was his heart.
Tammy said it killed my mom too. Yeah. That's what I mean.
Yeah, so I'm hoping to try to pick up another decade, maybe at least 5 years of life now that I stopped.
Yeah.
I've stopped a long time ago now. I'm over 10 years.
Yeah, it's been a while.
Yeah.
I can't even remember how long ago it was.
It's
got to be
over 10 years.
It's got to be coming on 10 years at least.
Yeah.
Cuz I can't remember. I remember us smoking, like hanging out and smoking like before we were going out and like in the early days of when we were going out.
Yeah.
And that was like 13 years ago.
And I only vaped for maybe 3 years. Maybe 4.
Yeah, maybe not even that long.
Yeah.
I can't even remember now.
And then I just outgrew vaping and I quit.
Yeah.
Don't miss it.
No, I don't either.
Miss it at all.
I don't either. Like I said, every now and then, this hasn't happened in a very long time. But every now and then when I was out at the club and somebody would have cloves or something, I'd be like, give me one of those.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But I'd just have one and I'd be like, I didn't really have any desire
You can't really inhale those anyway because it's almost like pipe tobacco.
Yeah. But that's pretty much it. And I haven't done that for a couple years, I don't think.
Yeah.
But yeah, so let's see, where were we? Okay, so yeah, the bull thing. So yeah, so he also did this shit on humans, as I mentioned. I believe he had at least 25 volunteers. Most of them were women, interestingly. And they got these implants of the stimosevers. And these women had psychiatric problems or were psychiatric patients. And really, one of Delgado's kind of intentions with this invention was to make it so people wouldn't have to get lobotomies, because he thought lobotomies were barbaric. So he thought that this would be better for people's psychiatric, because, I mean, some of the experiments he did with animals showed that you could perhaps stop like panic attacks or seizures or things like that with this method. And so he was kind of hoping to go in that direction. So like I said, his heart was in the right place. And he really did want to like help people with mental problems because he didn't like lobotomies. So he was hoping he could cure people with electrical stimulation. Now the human subjects that he had, they responded pretty much the way the animals had. You know, he could move their limbs and stuff like, not as much as you could do with the animals. Their reactions were a lot more extreme. The humans were there, but not as much. However, in one experiment, very famously reenacted on a history show channel that I watched, they did some temporal lobe stimulation on an epileptic woman who had just been sitting there very calmly, and she was playing a guitar, and it caused her to get up and slam her guitar into the wall.
Damn.
Like almost hitting one of the scientists there. So yeah.
Did it break the guitar?
Hit the wrong button. I think it did, yeah. So they're like, whoops, that was the super aggressive one. Sorry about that. They're pretty much, he was like, well, you can't really control a specific behavior this way. It's like you can increase aggression or you can decrease aggression, but that's about it. It's just kind of like you can't really stimulate emotions that aren't already there or anything like that. Because the thing about it was that obviously everyone was freaking out about mind control, Manchurian Candidate, like all this other kind of stuff. But he was basically saying, he's like, look, we can't control people's thoughts. We can't like put thoughts into people's heads or anything like that. It's like, yeah, we can make them move their arms around. We can make them have a particular emotion quickly, like they could like flip out or something, or we could decrease their aggression. We could make them feel depressed. We could make them feel euphoric for a short time, but they can't really change anyone's thought processes. You know what I mean? Which is, I think, what people were worried about, that you could like actually implant one of those and just give them messages and they'd be like, yes sir, we will do whatever the implant says. And he's just like, it's not gonna work like that.
Make you assassinate somebody.
Yeah, that's what I mean, like a Manchurian Candidate. Yeah. So that's what everyone was worried about. And he's like, it doesn't work like that. You know what I mean? The human brain is too complex. One thing he was able to do in one female subject was that I don't know if he did this, I guess he did this on purpose, just to see what would happen. But he stimulated like an extreme terror response, like by stimulating part of her brain. And they asked her about it afterward, and she said that she remembered the fear, but that the memory did not upset her. Huh. So I guess because there wasn't any reason for it. Right. You know what I mean? They were also able to, they brought in this kid who was real introverted, and they were able to make him super gregarious, like super outgoing. Right. And he liked it. Yeah. He liked it so much that he wanted to keep coming back. Right. Yeah. Like to give it to him again. He said, "Can I come back? Will you give this to me again?" Like he really liked it.
Yeah, he liked being fucking outgoing.
Yeah. Yeah. And they had one woman who had come in and she was just, normal or whatever. And they stimulated part of her brain, and she got super flirty. Oh, yeah. Like, with all the scientists, they're like, hey, what are you? Like, she got all like that. Right, yeah. And, so they could do shit like that, like, over the short term. Like I said, they could induce anger, they could induce laughter, lust, various other things. So, they could do that, but they couldn't, like, change people's thought patterns, is like I was saying. Because one of the things that he said, he's like, look, I can't produce specific thoughts. I can't direct an emotional response or an aggressive response toward a specific target, meaning I can't tell you, go be mad at that person. They're just mad generally, like not at anything. And they said we can't make them do anything super complex. It's just like a very
basic primal
like
response.
A basic primal emotional response. That's all it is. It's not complicated. And like I said, he was basically trying, the reason that he started out with this research was that he was trying to help psychiatric patients. Like he was trying to, allay panic attacks and depression and things like that. Now, interestingly, in the early 1970s, there was some controversy about Delgado because there were some lawsuits that came up, and this, of course, this is fucking typical, and this would probably even happen a lot more nowadays. People who were trying to sue him because they said that he implanted stimulants in them against their will. And one case in particular, the woman had never even met him. She was just like, she was trying to sue him for like $1 million, I think.
She just came out of the blue.
He implanted this thing in my brain and he's making me do shit. I'm pretty sure none of those went anywhere. Because they could prove it's like these people didn't even know him and they just, because he kind of got famous after that bull incident.
Right.
So people kind of came crawling out of the woodwork. So yeah. Now, he actually moved out of the United States in 1975. He went back to Spain and kept doing the stimulus research up until the 1990s when he retired. He even experimented on himself.
That's what I was saying. Why
on his family members. He did.
Okay.
You know, which, like any good scientist, got to experiment on
How did he
yourself.
get through the skull? He drilled a hole through the skull, or they
I'm not sure. We'll see. Okay. I'm not sure how the stimoceiver, because I know in the first case of Dr. Heath,
Yeah.
now he actually drilled into, because I think the electrodes were like on the brain.
Yeah.
So yeah, you need to like drill through the skull.
Hole, yeah.
Right? Either that, do they go through the eyeball, the eye socket? Can you do that? Like
go
go through the eye socket?
No, I ain't playing with that.
I ain't playing with that.
No, I'm not playing with that.
I mean, I think in the Dr. Heath
my
case,
brain alone. I've already put my brain through enough.
Yeah, your brain's been through a lot, Tom.
Yeah, it's taken a lot of beating. I don't think I don't want to. Although I do see the merit in it. You know, like talking about what they're talking about. You know, they got Elon Musk and that Neuralink.
Yeah, somebody mentioned that.
Yeah, that's supposed to be pretty good. Where it's like something straight out of a fucking horror movie we saw, like Saturn III, where that fucking crazy dude, what was his name? Harvey Keitel had that damn fucking piece of metal in the back of his head where he could fucking. It was kind of like where you could put the fucking CD-ROM. Not what do you call it? No, the USB card or whatever.
Yeah.
And you could wirelessly run things. That might be good if it's done right. I just don't want the company like Neuralink spying on me or taking control over me, or storing my memories for some reason, or any kind of psychological or snooping or surveillance. I think that's kind of unethical. I don't want a third party going through my mind. You know what I mean? Because they might pull a Scientology on you, where they go, look, I know that you were into this and this and that because I got your brainwave patterns and this and that. You're gonna pay me $30,000. I'm gonna fucking send this all out to your family. Might be that they could do that with you.
Right.
That's the way Scientology fucking does it. With their fucking
auditing.
Like
it's blackmail.
So you don't want them in your brain. But if you could get Neuralink and it actually was like a superpower, where you could wirelessly communicate with the internet anywhere where you are, you don't need a cell phone. You can now just go into the internet and get any data you needed. Like say you're fixing your car, or you're in a remote area and you need to have some kind of a map. It'll show you a map just because you asked for it. That would be badass power, man. James Bond wouldn't be able to fucking dream of anything like that. And then you could communicate with other people that had it, or just talk to a cell phone, a person on a cell phone, or yeah, it could be very good.
So everyone would be walking around looking like they talk to themselves. Well, they already kind of do with the Bluetooth.
Well, it could be that you don't have to talk. What it is, you could just think. You could just think, and they hear it in text, or they see it in text, or they hear it, or you can send them a mental image, and they see and feel you because you sent them a thought. You know what I'm talking about? Yeah. Or what if it's...
That would be bad because I think all kind of fucked up shit like all day long, and I'd probably be accidentally sending stuff.
Well, you could have sex by thinking erotic thoughts, and the other person is fucking receiving it. They feel it. You never can tell. Well, they might have to like open that feature. You know what I mean? But
see, like then you could cheat on people without.
Yeah, just mind fucking. Your mind, spirit fucking them.
And they'd be like, "Honey, what are you doing?" Of nothing.
Nothing.
I was just thinking about baseball stats.
You're right.
I promise.
Now, what if it was interactive where you can lay down and just all of a sudden it turns your body off and you go into an alternate virtual reality where you feel you're walking around, but you're walking around in medieval England. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Having fucking adventures as a knight or something. You know, you're playing World of Warcraft and you're there, you're in it. That'd be really cool. And then you have jobs in that world, in the virtual world. You have a job there that makes actual real money here. There's all kinds of weird shit that you can do with that.
In the virtual world too.
You could be in the virtual world. You could be a girl in the virtual world turning tricks, virtual tricks in the virtual, and then getting real money in the real world. Be like camming without the cam.
If you're into that.
Yeah, if you're into that shit. Just anything.
Gilded Age Phoenix said, "Did you guys ever try those AIDS smoking cessation candies?"
I remember those.
Yeah, I don't. That was after our time, I think. I mean, they had them when we were growing up, but they didn't have them
Yeah, my
when
mom
we were
had some of
quitting
those things.
smoking.
Hot hitting them
Worst
up all the time.
name ever. I mean, they didn't know. They didn't know.
When I was a little kid, my mom had some of those on top of the refrigerator. I crawled up on top of, got on top of the refrigerator and started eating them. I thought they were chocolates. I go, these things are terrible. I ate a bunch of them.
Yeah, what kind of were they, like
Fucking
gum
terrible.
or
No, it was like little chocolate bars.
were they?
Yeah,
I thought
but
that
they-
was X-Lax,
No, it was fucking. It was called AIDS.
I know with a
It
Y.
was an anti-smoking candy.
I gotta pee.
It had nicotine in it, I think.
Yeah, it was like nicotine gum. I thought it was gum, but it might not.
No,
have
it was
been.
chocolate.
I don't know if I ever saw them.
Oh wait a minute, no, man, you know what it is?
No, the X-Lax was chocolate. Those might have been chocolate too.
No, just I remember what it was. It was. I mean, it may have not. I don't think it was anti-smoking. I think it might have been weight loss. It might have been. They were like chocolates that were supposed to be weight loss chocolates. Which how the fuck do you have weight loss chocolates? Think about this. What a fucking scam. You're gonna sell some chocolate to fat girls that makes them skinny. That's what I think that shit was. Okay, let's see what the comments say. Hugo fucking brings up that Jacob's Ladder is also a mind control flick. Yeah, Jacob's Ladder was a good one. I saw it in the theater. Yeah, it tripped us out. We were in the Army at the time when we saw that one. Me and a couple of dudes went down there and saw that. Xanadu says he doesn't want to merge with AI. He enjoys humanity. Yeah, well, one of the things that might be possible is it can happen in it can happen in stages. You could have Neuralink and you have access to other people through the internet. It's kind of like a cell phone and the internet and virtual reality, but it's directly implanted into your mind. That's to be like the first stage. Now, I would think that all this internet's happening inside the internet that we have here, which is a fucking land-based internet, with fucking, mainframe computers and everything. Well, let's say what happens if you get sick and your fucking body starts to die. You say, hell, I'm going to die. So when I'm in the hospital and shit dying, I'm going to upload my mind from here into that internet and let the body die, and I'll just live in there. That might be possible.
There was a Black Mirror episode about that.
That might be possible. Now, it wouldn't be immortality, but you could get maybe like several other centuries, because eventually, the Earth would be destroyed. The fucking sun fucking gets too big and fucking swallows up the Earth. Or
Well, I mean, that's a long time.
or civilization collapses, and then the mainframe computers and they have a fucking a fucking EMP from a solar flare that knocks out all the fucking electricity, and there goes your internet, and you're in it, and you die.
But you would just like wink out.
You wouldn't know, yeah.
Yeah, it probably wouldn't be that big of a
You'd
deal.
just probably vanish.
I wouldn't be averse to that, like I said.
Yeah, and you got like an extra couple hundred years
Yeah.
of where you were playing inside the internet.
Yeah, I wouldn't be bothered. Like I said, it doesn't. I don't know. It just doesn't particularly scare me. Like I said, yeah, I don't want some corporation like crawling around with my brain or anything like that, but I don't know. In a way, it's just kind of like technology is inevitable.
Yeah.
And it just happens fast nowadays, and there's really not a lot you can do about it.
Yeah. I would do Neuralink later on in life. That could be quite an advantage when you're older.
I mean, and another thing, too, is that I never am that worried about it because it's like no one gives a fuck what's going on in my head.
Yeah.
Like, I don't have any important
got
military
less to lose when
secrets
you're
or
older,
nothing
too.
like
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
Yeah, so it's just like, it's not like anybody's clambering to get inside my fucking brain, you know what I mean?
Right.
So it's like, I'm not really paranoid about that.
Right.
It's like, they're going to steal my thoughts. I'm like, babe, nobody cares about your fucking thoughts, okay?
Yeah.
Nobody
The only
cares.
thing that they could do, like I said, is blackmail you with your thoughts.
Yeah.
They could do that.
I don't
But
think
if you're old, you don't give a fuck.
And I don't think I have any blackmail-worthy thoughts,
Yeah, right.
honestly.
Yeah. Yeah, anything they'd show me about you, I just go, oh, that's fucking cool.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I don't think there's anything.
I'd like to have that on video.
Yeah, I don't think there's anything that I could think that I probably wouldn't say out loud.
Yeah, right.
And that I probably have said out loud. You know what I mean? So I'm pretty much 100% transparent.
Yeah, Jenny
There's-
at the glory hole.
Yeah, I mean, there's pretty much
whatever.
there's really
Like,
nothing
okay,
that goes
yeah,
on in
yeah.
my head that I haven't said out loud at some
Yeah.
point or another. So there's no fucking secrets in there. There's no nothing.
Yeah.
I've told him before. It's just like,
I know what makes her tick.
yeah, I'm like, there's no secrets to discover. It's all
Right.
out there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If it's, you know, if I haven't said it, I haven't done it. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? It's nothing like that. But yeah. I like being like that though.
That's the best way to be.
Kinda. I mean, like I said, I'm not. It's just kind of take it or leave it. It's
What's
just kinda
funny
like,
is
this
though,
is it.
we sometimes forget kind of how different we are than other people. There's a lot of people that are like us, but very different. At the club the other day, there was this
Oh, this is a good story.
this fucking
guys.
chick.
Well, it's kind of fucked up. It's
Yeah, this looks
well, not fucked up, but
She's brand new and fucking. She's wearing the same thing all the time. So I didn't know.
we used to see her. We would see her at the club, and she's a really
Right.
good dancer, and she's young, but she knew
Yeah,
all
she's
the
okay,
old music and stuff, and we're like, wow, she seems cool.
Yeah, yeah,
And she's always alone.
Yeah, and I said, Jen, you know, those clothes that you got that we ordered that were too small. So she could probably have.
Yeah,
those.
she could probably fit in there.
And then she goes, oh yeah, yeah. So I said, hey, you come here, and I said, I buy a lot of stuff for her, and sometimes it's too small. You want it? I said, I got some corsets and all kinds. She goes, oh yeah, yeah, great. So she sent us a contact. I call her, and she had a screen named Ariel. You guys saw probably already fucking laughing.
You know where this is
You know
going.
where this is fucking going. So I show her this little fucking black dress that I had that was too small. And I said, it's funny because your screen name's Ariel. I didn't actually buy this one for Jenny. I bought this for a doll that we have called Ariel. And she's like, what? And she goes, yeah, I had this doll of a little mermaid called Ariel. Me and Jim were going to use it to make some videos and stuff. And I showed her, and she goes, really? And I said, yeah, you want to see it? She goes, yeah. So I sent her a fucking snapshot of it. She goes, wow, that's a fucking doll. And I says, yeah, you know, and then change the subject real quick. And then she goes, oh, by the way, I don't think I'll be needing these clothes.
She
never
got
mind. Thank
she
you
got
very
creeped
much.
out.
She got freaked out. So I was just like,
She got creeped out.
oh yeah, I forgot. Yeah, I forgot. People that really fucking wouldn't know us probably would think that was fucking strange. But we had fucking Ariel on the show.
Yeah.
You know.
But like I said,
I keep forgetting that people don't know me.
Because I was telling Tom, I was like,
forget
because I was like,
me.
look, I didn't think he did anything wrong.
Yeah.
But because I forget too sometimes
Yeah,
that
I
everyone
forgot,
else
yeah.
isn't a fucking weirdo,
Yeah.
and I forget. Also, that everyone else doesn't like swearing and all this stuff, you know,
Yeah.
because I've gotten into situations before. Because
Yeah.
I swear all the time and I don't think about it, like even in front of children, because I don't think about it. So, because that's just how I
Yeah.
talk. So I told Tom, I was like, you didn't do anything wrong, but we don't know her.
Yeah.
Like we literally just met her
Yeah.
Saturday,
Yeah.
right?
We didn't really meet her. We
Yeah.
just kind of talked to her. and
Yeah,
asked her if
I
she
mean,
wanted
we'd seen her,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
we
yeah.
never talked to her.
to- Yeah.
And when we were at the club, like, we talked to her, and she's like, I was too shy to come up and talk to you guys, and blah, blah, blah.
I didn't
I'm just
hear
like,
that part.
Yeah, she said that.
Okay.
And because she was saying, oh, you're such a good dancer, she said to me, and all this other stuff. And so I was like, yeah, we just saw you around, and blah, blah, blah. So we talked to her for a couple minutes, but loud in there, you know what I mean? You can't have huge conversations, and I'm fucking deaf. So when Tom, because I didn't know, like, he just said, yeah, I'm talking to her, and sending her
I was
pictures.
showing her what it was that we had.
Yeah, like sending her
And she's like,
pictures
oh,
of
yeah,
the
yeah.
because he had bought me some stuff and it was like a little too small. And so we're like, man, we should just like give these to somebody at
Who can wear it,
at
yeah.
the club that can wear it, you know, because I don't want them to go to waste because they're new, you know. And when he was talking about what and that he'd sent her the doll and everything like that,
Yeah.
and I was just kind of like, bro.
Yeah.
I was like, if I
forgot
like,
about
look, I'm a girl.
it. Yeah.
If a dude, like, and especially like a dude old enough to be my dad, like started sending me stuff and was like, hey, I have a sex doll, and like sending me pictures of the sex doll and stuff like that, I would be way creeped out.
Yeah.
I'd be way creeped out.
Yeah.
So, cause he's like, is she really that sensitive? I'm like, no, that's kind of creepy. And I'm like,
Oh,
cause I was trying to think of the context if it was a dude I didn't know.
Right. Yeah.
Or who I had talked to for like 5 minutes, and then he suddenly started in with that and like
Yeah.
sending me pictures of a sex doll. I'd be like, yeah, I'm gonna go. You know what I mean? So I can see where she's coming from.
It was a cute photo, though.
It was.
It was a cute photo, yeah.
But I can see it wasn't her being sensitive or anything. We're
Right.
just, it's creepy. It's a little creepy.
I
And
know.
like I said,
I don't give a fuck about it.
but we do forget.
We
sometimes
forget that other people fucking don't
because
know
we
us.
just talk about this shit all the time. And you know, we're used to it. You guys are used to it. Everybody we know is used to it. So sometimes when we're in an unfamiliar environment, or we're talking to somebody that we don't know very well, sometimes we fuck up. That's what we're saying.
Well, see, the thing is the goth scene has a lot of people in it that are fucking kind of in the entertainment. They're artists. They work for Disney. A lot of them are cam girls. You got fucking You got fucking occasional escort. You got and a lot of people from the fetish scene. So if you're in there, you tend to think that fucking everybody's fucking, you know what I mean?
Or at least knows
What the hell's
that,
going on.
and
right.
is not going to be weirded out.
But she
by
was
it.
brand new. She wasn't. I don't think she was really hip to fucking what that scene's about.
And like I said, we are a lot older, so we may
Yeah.
have came across like
Yeah.
old predators or something.
Half the people there are in the fetish scene.
Because I was thinking to myself, I said, are we coming across like fucking John and Miriam in The Hunger?
Who cares?
Like we're going to eat her?
Yeah, I was
That's
like,
kind of
look.
that's kind of what I thought. I was like, oops.
Nothing. I don't think I want it. It says, hey, look, we're not trying to pick you up or anything. We're just going to give you
And then he said that, and I was like, oh my god, you're just making it worse.
Yeah, right, yeah. I was like, oh, well, fuck it.
You're
Yeah.
just making it worse.
Yeah.
So now it's like, I hope, if she's there on Saturday, I'll say, hey, like, don't fucking,
That bitch probably won't even be there.
just chill out about
That
it.
bitch-
I hope we didn't, like, fucking
That
drive
bitch
her away.
probably fucking too scared to come out.
We're not
you
scary, I
think?
promise. We're nice. It's just we forget everyone's not a sexual deviant.
She was too much
like
of a
we are.
civilian. She was a civilian.
Yeah, Xander said not everyone is a sexual deviant like Tom.
yeah.
That's what I mean. It's just like
I'm
I
not
said,
a deviant, man.
we're not deviant.
No, I'm not a deviant.
We're not deviant. I mean,
I'm
I
just-
don't even. What even is deviant?
I've just been around the block a long time, so
Yeah.
nothing shocks me,
Right.
and I fucking
No,
I
me
know
either.
about everything. Yeah,
So it's just kind of.
yeah. And fucking the kind of shit we do is nothing compared to like some of the shit that other people I knew that were
That's
doing.
what I mean, because I see some porn and I'm just like, holy crap, I'd
Yeah.
never do that.
There were
You have
people-
fun though.
There were people in the Boston scene back a long time ago. You'd look at them, they would fucking think everything was just like fucking hunky dory with that chick. They're all into the fucking scat and all kinds of weird shit.
See, that's like no
There
judgment.
was some
They're
serious,
not hurting anybody, but
serious
that's pretty gross.
fetish stuff. You know
That's
what I mean?
pretty gross.
And that was back in the '90s. So
Well, I went to a fetish party back in the 90s, and they
Yeah.
had that. Nobody was doing it in live time, but they
Yeah.
had porn of it like up
Yeah.
on the walls. And
Yeah.
I was just like, great.
yeah,
It's like some of us are trying to drink here.
yeah.
That's pretty nasty.
So I have a very high threshold.
Yeah, same.
Yeah.
But, it's just kind of like, and it's not so much because I've done all that stuff. It's just that
we've known everybody.
we know everybody that does that kind of stuff,
Yeah.
and I'm not bothered by it
Yeah.
because they're not hurting anybody. And everybody
They're
has their own.
surprisingly pretty normal.
Yeah, like,
Yeah. They just have these weird kinks.
yeah. And it's just kind of like, I don't know. It just doesn't bother me.
I'm not
like,
worried about it.
like what people do. But yeah, so we just
Let's get back to the show, though.
We just do kind of forget.
This is pretty interesting.
Yeah, you think?
I can't wait till we get to the two-headed dog.
Okay, but that's gonna be last. First,
Okay.
we're gonna talk about Ilya Ivanovich Ivanov,
Okay.
the man that tried to make the human-Z.
Okay, the human-Z, yeah.
Otherwise, this guy's otherwise known as the Red Frankenstein. He became to be
Okay.
known later.
Okay. So this is going back to the thing that I'd heard about Stalin trying to make the human-Zs.
Right.
Okay.
CB says, Jenny, you can eat me anytime.
Yep.
Well.
Who said that?
CB.
Okay.
Like, literally eat you? I don't know.
Hold on, let me get some-
That'll take a while.
Get some antacids, man.
I have to put most of you in the freezer. But, he's going to get antacids. Should I wait for you?
No, wait.
Okay. All right. So, yeah. So we're going to talk about this dude. I'm just going to call him Ivanov. Now, he was a Russian biologist, and he was actually an expert in animal hybridization and artificial insemination. Now, early on, he conducted some experiments to create various Franken animals, mixed breed animals, if you want to call them that. You got your Z-donk, which is a zebra and a donkey. Not that crazy. And a thing that was like a cross between a mouse and a guinea pig. They didn't even come up with a name for that. Guinea mouse? I don't know. I can't think of anything. Mousy pig? I don't know. But yeah, so he came up with that. Like I said, not that crazy. It's not like he's trying to put like...
Those things are all closely related.
Yeah, that's what I'm... Well, that's the only way it's going to work, obviously. Yeah. You can't take, like, a fucking earthworm and, like, attach it to, like, an elephant ass or anything like that.
I was going to say the same thing, an elephant.
Like an elephant ass with an earthworm.
Yeah.
Weird on the front. That would be super weird. Or like a snail or something. But he's most famous because he proposed a hybrid of a human and a chimpanzee.
Humanzy.
A humanzy.
Yeah, which purported to have existed. Somebody thought that they had one for a while and was usually showing it around. It was a weird looking chimpanzee. A lot of people thought it was a humanzy. Turned out it wasn't, though.
No, it was fake.
Yeah.
That's what I mean. A lot of the shit, especially back in the early 20th century.
Yeah.
A lot of these kind of scientific... I think a lot of people remember him from, like, circus sideshows and shit like that, and all that shit was fake.
Yeah. Well, this was a real thing. It's just...
Well, this was a real experiment, but spoiler alert, it was not successful.
Well, yeah, no, but the humanzee I was talking about was a real thing. It's just it wasn't human at all. It was a chimpanzee. It just happened to be from a... They did a genetic test on it later on, and it was just like... It was basically like a subspecies of chimpanzees that was extremely rare. That's what they...
Yeah.
It walked upright a little bit more than other chimpanzees, and its face kind of did look a little more human in a weird way it acted. And it was old, too, so that was part of it.
Yeah. So, Ivanov, he first came up, or at least he first publicly announced the idea of, hey, let's do a human-chimpanzee hybrid, because why not, in 1910. And there was a conference for zoologists in Austria. And he wanted to do this using artificial insemination, obviously. And for a long time, nobody really did it. It was just kind of like an idea that was kind of floating out there. But after the Russian Revolution in 1917, all of that kind of changed. Now, the Soviets, after the Soviet government came in, they were all about wanting to have, like, their own, like, scientific progress. They wanted to beat the U.S., show how, like, superior they were, I guess. So, in 1924, Ivanov, went to the government and said, hey, I want to do these experiments to make a human-chimp hybrid, as one does. And another thing they wanted to do, too, I think this was another reason why he got funding for it, was from the Bolshevik government, was because they wanted to bolster Darwinian evolution, because and kind of crush the forces of religion, because they were saying, look, if we can successfully breed a human with a chimp, that kind of proves that. I mean, not like it hasn't already been proven, but this was like a long time ago. This was like, Origin of Species just came out in the 1800s.
It was a way to bolster atheism,
pretty much.
And the communists were big into that. They wanted scientific rationalism.
Yeah. So that was another reason why it probably got funded. Yeah. Other scientists were, like, not down with it. They were like, no, I don't think that's ethical, or I don't think that's a good idea. But the government was like, yeah, you do that. So it got pushed through. So Ivanov goes to Africa in 1926. And he got permission from the Pasteur Institute. They had a primate center in Guinea, which was then owned by the French. And he gets there, but when he got there the first time, none of the chimps was of breeding age yet. So he had to leave and then come back later. Now, when he came back later when they were old enough, basically he was trying to inseminate female chimpanzees with human sperm, is what he was trying to do. Now...
mechanically.
Well, that was the only way to do it back then.
Yeah.
Like, you could do it now, like, and I'll get into like what they've been doing nowadays, but along those lines. But back then, you just had to do it the old-fashioned, the turkey baster way, kind of.
Yeah.
Pretty much. This is the 1920s. So he tries to do that, and none of the female chimps got pregnant. They don't know why exactly. They speculated. I don't know if this was later speculation, but it might have just been because of the stress of the experiment. Perhaps was enough to, because chimpanzees are very susceptible to stress, and so that might have just been why they didn't, but none of them got pregnant. So after that happened, he's like, I know what I'll do. I will instead take the sperm from a male chimpanzee and impregnate a human female, because I'm sure like women will be lining up for that experiment. You know what I mean? So he gets a bunch of male chimpanzee sperm and goes back to Russia and gets like a he has like a new ape nursery like set up, right, with all this male sperm in it. Now, believe it or not, they did have 5 women that volunteered for this.
Yeah.
I don't know why they did. I don't know if they were just freaks,
Being good Soviet
or
citizens.
they just thought that would get them brownie points,
Brownie points,
or something. But 5 women did volunteer.
Yes, impregnate me with that chimpanzee
impregnate
sperm.
me with chimpanzee sperm.
Let me have a chimp
Let's
baby.
see how this goes.
Yeah.
I would not volunteer for that. But these women did.
They probably got something out of it.
These
though.
brave women. I don't know if they. I hope they paid.
No,
them.
they got something out of it.
I hope they paid them. Jesus Christ,
Yeah.
or they got some kind of.
They
Perks.
probably didn't pay them. They probably gave them new ration chits and shit like that. Shit that they could, you know what I mean? I don't think the Soviets did that. They had money. It's just that it wasn't a capitalist system. So it was kind of like running like a military system where you were getting issued stuff and. You know, and you could get ration card stuff for things to get issues. They probably gave her extra issue. You know.
Yeah.
Extra nylons and extra fucking clothes and shit.
Oh boy, that's totally worth getting knocked up by a chimpanzee.
The standards were pretty low in
True.
the Soviet Union at this time.
That's true.
I mean, they were just coming out of the medieval
Those
period.
bitches would open their legs for anybody or any species, just for a pair of nylons.
The Slavs.
Cheap horse.
The Slavs had been abused by history for fucking 1,000 years. They were fucking extremely tough people, intelligent and tough. And the Soviets took over, and they were coming out of basically the Middle Ages. Still, they were in the Dark Ages. You know, before that, and the Tsar wasn't all that good for me. It was kind of good, but not for everybody. And you know, people were still in a state of serfdom. Slav, actually, the term Slav or that word actually is related to the word slave. Because they were slaves to their kings. They were brutal. Russia was brutal. It's paradise now compared to what it was. They're strong people, man.
I think that's.
I had a lot of Russian friends. One of them Russian friends,
true
Vadim Konyev, man, he was a Soviet soldier. Me and him were hanging out in the goth scene after the collapse of the Soviet Union. I got out of the army, and he was there, and he told me what. He was in the army at the time of the collapse and everything. Fucking, we were tearing it up in the old fucking goth club back in Boston. He looked like Antonio Banderas. Had hair down to his waist and shit. I showed Jenny a picture of him. He goes, oh, he's cute. What to say?
Zach gave us a super chat. Thank you very much. This makes me think of a fake story that made the rounds a few years back about a cat-dog hybrid from Poland, supposedly. Yeah, like a lot of the, and probably nowadays,
never happened.
More than anything, because now that we have AI and you can make all kind of crazy shit, because I see people falling for crazy AI shit on Facebook all the time now. But this is obviously AI. But now that you can make those photos, but yeah, most of the stuff, unless the animals are very, very closely related, it's not going to happen. You know what I mean? Back in the old days, if, you know, a circus or something like that, they would take 2 dead animals and sew them together and say, hey, it's a whatever, it's a rabbit duck hybrid or whatever. That thing was never alive. They just took 2 dead animals and sewed their carcasses together. But, you know what I mean? It does work sometimes if the animals are very closely related, like I said. Like I said, everybody knows horses and donkeys can mate and it'll be a mule.
Bears can do it.
Although most of them are sterile. Not all of them, but most of them are.
Yeah, and most bears can crossbreed.
Lions and tigers can crossbreed.
Dogs and
wolves. A lot of those are sterile as well. But like I said, they're very, very closely related. And usually the offspring are sterile, but not always. But yeah, so
it's called viable offspring. Most of them don't have viable offspring.
Well, I mean, that's kind of what the kind of just layman scientific definition of a species, and actually I think most scientists would say this is the definition of a species, is animals that can produce viable offspring.
Yeah.
Like if you can't,
right,
then that's a different species.
Yeah.
Like even as close as they appear.
Yeah.
So, so like I said, it does happen, and I get why people are interested in doing it.
Yeah.
I just don't know. I don't know what purpose this serves. Like, I can see, like, the electrical stimulation stuff of the brain and everything. I can see a purpose for that.
Yeah.
Like, in, you know, for example, for the treatment of mental illness, okay? Like, that's a good for humanity.
Yeah.
This hybridizing animals,
No.
I can see why, like, I don't
This would
really
be a propaganda victory.
Well, yeah, no.
And-
I'm not talking about that kind of shit.
Oh, okay.
I'm talking about how would this benefit humanity? As propaganda does not benefit humanity. You know what I'm saying?
Well, the Soviets thought it did.
Right, but that's something different.
I'm not sure what you're getting at.
I'm just saying that...
Hybridizing animals, like you can create mules.
Right.
Right. And mules can do things that horses and donkeys can't. It's a stronger version of a donkey, but it's more horse-like. You know what I mean? And they were used. They were, that was a creature. And some of those mules actually could breed back with the horse population, but yet they didn't want to do that though, because you didn't want donkey DNA on your horses. Slow them down.
Well, here's the thing.
Mules had certain strengths to them over other horses, over work horses. It was something you used to pull carts. They're real good for that.
Horses and donkeys,
Yeah.
like, did mules happen
On
naturally?
purpose. No.
Or was it on purpose?
On purpose.
Okay, that's what I thought.
On purpose.
Like somebody fucking around.
They're
Like, hey,
they-
let's make this animal fuck this animal and see what happens.
No, it's an artificial insemination. They did that shit. They knew exactly what they were doing. They would just get a horse pregnant with a donkey. I think it was a horse pregnant with donkey DNA, and a mule was born. I think that's usually how it went. Might be the other way around. I don't know.
American Military 100 said, does anyone know if zebras and horses can crossbreed?
Yeah, they can.
They can.
Yeah,
They can.
and zebras and donkeys can crossbreed too.
Yeah. Like
It's
I
called
said,
a zebra and a horse together is called a zorse.
yeah. And a donkey and
Yeah.
a zebra is called a zedonk,
Yeah.
which is a dumbass name. Although I don't know what else you would call it. But yeah, they can. I have actually seen horse donkey or horse zebra hybrids. I have actually seen them, like not in real life, but I've seen like pictures of them. So yeah, where were we? So he decides he's got all this chimp sperm, and he's gonna go back to Russia and impregnate some willing Russian females with chimpanzee baby batter, which is pretty gross. Now here's the thing. So,
They didn't see it. They just sat there with feet in the stirrups, and he's like that. Okay,
you just
you're done.
squirted
Oh, thank
it
you
in
very
there.
much.
Okay, you're done.
Go get your SU. Yeah. Go get your extra issue.
Go get your
nylons.
nylons.
Yeah.
Your nylons and your candy bar or whatever the fuck they gave her.
Yeah. Poor Russians, man.
Oh my god! And your extra potato.
Well, you're helping. You're helping the motherland.
I'm sure that's
helping
how they
Mother
thought
Russia.
of it. But
You're
it's
helping Mother Russia.
interesting how they only got 5 volunteers though,
Yeah.
even despite all the perks that they would probably get.
You're probably at the bottom of the dating gene pool.
Yeah,
the
I would
dating
have
pool,
been
yeah.
like, what the fuck else? It's like, might as well get knocked up by a chimp at this point.
Well, they probably had a good contract that if you got pregnant, you'd care to determine. Your bonuses probably got bigger. Probably.
Yeah.
The Soviets were people like anybody else, of course. I mean, they probably put a carrot out there for them. I'm sure.
Zach said, "Oh, I just Googled a horse zebra hybrid. They're actually really pretty."
Yeah.
Yes, they are.
Yeah.
So he brings all this sperm back, and he brought some apes back too, because I guess he
Yeah.
was gonna, potentially continue the experiment with more than people. However, the apes he brought back to Russia from Africa didn't do so good in Russia. They didn't like. I'm sure they probably didn't like the climate. They didn't like that they were in a different place. They were kind of freaking out. And when the experiment was ready to go forward in 1929, pretty much all of them had died. Other than there was one adult male left, whose name was Tarzan, and he was 26 years old. And even before the experiment could go forward, he died of a brain hemorrhage. So, as far as we
That's
know,
towards the end of their lifespan. I think they're lucky to make it to 40.
Yeah, I think they usually live in the 30 to 40 range.
Yeah.
So as far as we know, the experiment was never carried out because he was actually waiting for new apes to come to the facility in 1930. However, before that happened, as most people know, there was a purge of Soviet scientists, and he got caught up in that. And he got exiled to Kazakhstan because they were like, scientists suck, get out. And so he only was there a year, but he ended up dying of a stroke a year after that. The thing about it is that I was watching a program about this earlier, and they were speculating. They were like, well, even if he had impregnated any women with male chimp sperm, it likely would not have worked. Like, it wouldn't have produced any viable offspring anyway. They're like, because there are a couple significant. One, there's a difference in, I think chimpanzees have either one more or one less chromosome.
Yeah, I think it's one
than
more.
humans have. Another thing too is that the way that the egg is released from the ovary in response to the sperm is different. It's different enough that it might not have took.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So there are some, species barriers to why you couldn't really do it that way.
Now,
you would have to do it genetically like they would do it nowadays. You can't do it the old-fashioned.
Now, you said they were looking for viable offspring. My memory of this case was that they didn't care if the offspring was viable. They just wanted an offspring. It didn't have to be an offspring that could mate back with the population. That's the way I understood it.
I meant viable offspring as in one that would survive.
Survive, okay.
That's what
Usually
I
think the term is viable is that it can breed back into at least one of the populations. It's not a genetic dead end. Because it's easy to crossbreed an animal and you get an offspring, but it's not viable, it's sterile. So it can't affect evolution. So that's why they say it's non-viable. And from what I remember, they didn't care about viability. They just care about if there was an offspring at all. They say, see, look, we're closely related. This is, evolution is true. Humans are a type of ape. That's all really they want to say. And it would be like the Soviets would grandstand and talk about how great their scientists were over the West. Now, there's another story I heard about. I don't know if you're going to get into this or not. Evidently, Stalin was interested in this program for a while. And some of the guys in the intelligence agencies were like, hey, man, if that shit works, we can mass produce some of them things and make a bunch of them. And you might be able to train them and send them against the Germans to fight the Germans.
There were because I kind of feel like his experiments were kind of, well, wait a minute, before I get into that. Like, Zach sent us another super chat.
Okay.
Thank you very much. It said, Jesus, it's like when in the 1890s we tried importing a bunch of reindeer with Sammy herders into Alaska from Finland, and I'm pretty sure they all died during the trip. Yeah, it really didn't seem to occur to people back then that animals also have climates that they like, that they've adapted to and stuff like that, and if you're taking them to a wildly different environment, they probably won't enjoy that and probably will not thrive.
Well, they didn't know. They figured,
obviously.
They all got fur. They'll be all right. That was the thinking,
No,
they got fur to be okay.
That's not how that works.
Well, they had to learn by trial and error.
Like, whoops, well...
Yeah, I guess they
didn't work out.
Yeah.
That was a waste of time.
Yeah.
I mean, if they just had a little bit of forethought, but they really didn't. I mean, they just kind of thought, it's on the Earth. We can take it anywhere.
Well, they were like, there's winters where this comes from, so it's just another winter over there.
Yeah. I don't think they really understood the complexity of...
Took them a while.
Yeah. Of, like, adaptation to certain environments and things of that nature. They didn't really think it through, I feel like. They're just like, we want to do this, so we're gonna.
Yeah, a lot of it had to do with probably scoring money.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I think it was more...
Hey, boss, I got this idea.
That's
fucking...
Like I said, I don't think they put much thought into it.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously.
Got this idea. Fucking, we'll do this and that, and you can break me off $5,000. Okay, yeah. Let's see if that works.
I mean, it's just kind of like when it's, like explorers would go to a place. Hey, I have an idea. Let's go to this tiny island. Let's cut down all the trees.
Yeah.
To make like a log cabin.
All right.
Hey, why is everything fucked up now?
Yeah.
I mean, you cut down the entire like fucking ecosystem. Good job. But like I said, they didn't really.
Well, Easter Island, they were doing that on their own.
Yeah,
that's what happened to them.
They didn't really think things through. So
why would you think anything?
Yeah.
Think about it. You know what I mean? You're a tribal society. You just want houses. You cut down trees. They weren't from that island. They colonize that island. It didn't last long.
It did not. It's not very large.
Yeah.
So yeah.
They're still there, but not quite as they were.
So the thing about it is that like the dude's experiments, I kind of feel like they were largely forgotten about until a lot of the shit was like declassified, like in the 1990s, like after the fall of the Soviet Union and everything.
We ought to do a show on Easter Island.
We probably should.
Yeah, we haven't talked about the heads on Easter Island, and that was some spooky shit when I was a kid.
I mean, I'll look. I'm pretty sure we haven't done one.
Yeah, I don't think we've done that.
We could do like a whole island. We could do Sydney Cannibalism Island. We could do Easter Island. We could do all that stuff.
The mysteries of Easter Island.
Yeah.
God damn it.
it.
That's the name of the show.
Although I'm pretty sure I know how they did that.
Yeah.
How they did that.
I saw some people doing it.
Yeah, they've recreated.
And it's true, they did walk into place.
Yeah.
They walked into place.
Well, yeah, when people asked them, they said they walked there.
They walked there and they went into place, yeah. And they show you...
It's true. They did.
They did walk.
The statue didn't walk. The people walked them there.
No, the statue walked.
But the statue kind of
people
walked.
had it on ropes.
The people helped them.
They helped it. Yeah, they rocked it. They rocked it back and forth using a bunch of ropes, and it walked.
And a bunch of people.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like I said, it's been recreated.
Yeah.
So they know that it was possible. But yeah, so I kind of feel like this dude's experiments were forgotten about for a while until the 1990s. And then when it came back, it was just like this big, huge... It's like, oh my god, trying to make like an ape-human hybrid. That's like... Because there was so much weird shit going on this, and we're going to talk about the two-headed dog guy, because that was a Russian scientist too. But there was like so much weird shit going on, like Frankenstein shit. And so I think people were like fascinated by it. They called this guy, Ivanov, they called him the Red Frankenstein. And I think in the 1990s was when a lot of these kind of conspiracy theories started coming out about, oh, well, if they were doing that, like, what the fuck else were they doing? You know what I mean? So I think that's where the ape army thing came from. Like, right around that time, like, he was trying to make an ape army. There's really, as far as I know, there's, like, no evidence that that was true. But I think, like I said, there was a lot of shit that came out in the media that was speculating about that. There was also some speculation that they were interested in the experiment because they were interested in eugenics, like to breed the perfect worker.
Yeah.
And things like that. But like I said, if they'd known anything about the genetics, which I know they didn't back then, but if you're trying to hybridize a human and a chimpanzee with the end result of having, for example, the intelligence of a human and the strength of a chimpanzee, that is very likely not what you're going to get. It doesn't seem to occur to them that it's just as likely that you will get the opposite.
Yeah.
Or a completely wild card combination of traits that are not desirable.
I can throw my 2 cents into this. From what I remember, they were talking about, like she said, they were trying to breed the best worker, also soldier, too. They wanted some big, strong motherfuckers that they could kind of mass produce. And they weren't real citizens. You could send them into combat, and they got killed. Nobody really cared because they didn't have parents. They were kind of artificially created. And they would be like a perfect slave race, really, is what they were trying to do.
Yeah.
When a war was over, you could get rid of them all. And they kind of thought they'd be strong and aggressive and intelligent enough to maybe use guns, but maybe not intelligent enough to take care of themselves and to know exactly what was going on. That's what they were dreaming about. That's probably not what would happen. If you were to do it, chimpanzees actually have a pretty good awareness, and they have a very good memory. A lot better than humans, actually. They can remember sequences and stuff. So I don't think it would be as dumb as they thought it would be.
No.
And
that might not be a good thing.
Right. It would probably be pretty smart. And it probably would not be as strong as they're thinking. Now, here's the thing. I've talked about this before on other shows, but if you're new to the show, I was always fascinated by how strong a chimpanzee was and the things that a chimpanzee could do. I mean, they can bite somebody's hand off at the wrist in a single chomp. They could bite into a person's face like I bite into an apple and take a huge part of bone and flesh out and everything. You know, they're very fucking strong. The thing is that they're not as strong as say, for instance, as me. I'm about as strong as a chimp. They're not as strong as a dude who works out. The reason why they can do all that is because they have a very fucking powerful muscles on their heads that run a really strong jaw and with powerful teeth, real strong teeth. So their bite force is many times more than a human. But as far as their physical strength, they're not that much stronger than a fit adult male. It's just that you're going to see some weird phenomena. Their legs are short, so they're lower to the ground. Their center of gravity is lower, which allows them to drag a lot more weight than a human with longer legs can. They can just drag something and run with it. When a person's legs a lot longer, it's not going to be as easy for you. It's more of a question of leverage than strength. They also, the way they're built to brachiate and go through trees. And they have fucking hands on their feet. They're strong, but they're just not as strong as you think they are. It mostly has to do with leverage. But still, their main weapon is not strength if you're fighting a chimp. And I've heard of accounts of dudes that have survived fights with chimps where dudes were killed in the fight. And they said it's like looking into the face of a fucking raging male chimp is like looking into the fucking mouth of hell. They say it's like looking at a demon because they're extremely angry and their eyes are very human. You know that it sees you, and they have a very powerful bite. They can bite fucking a hand right off at the wrist in a single chomp. Pow! And it's just hard to fight something like that.
It's hard to fight something when you don't have any hands or feet or balls.
Well, when they can bite that powerfully.
Or face.
A human cannot bite anywhere near what a chimp can do.
Yeah, we're pretty lame in
so
that
that's
regard.
a weapon unto itself. If a human could bite that hard, you'd be deadly. You know, you'd have the same reputation as a chimp if you could bite that hard.
Everybody that every single episode of Cops would just be bite fights.
Yeah. Now, there is some shit out there still in the system saying that, well, a chimpanzee has 3 times the strength of a human. What they're talking about that was a measurement taken from the Victorian era, where they didn't have gyms and dudes fucking were pretty lightly built, and they could maybe bench press fucking 90 pounds, 100 pounds. That would be like the average, maybe less. An adult male chimpanzee could press 300, no problem. So 3 times. But I can do 340. You know. So I'm not stronger than a chimp though. Chimp would tear me fucking up. Just because of its bite.
He would tear your genitals off first.
Yeah, they bite in the crotch and they fucking bite right through it.
They know exactly where
they know where to bite. They're smart. I'm gonna bite that dude's dick right off. And they know about gender. They know the difference between males and females. They're a human-like intelligence. They're in the same field.
Well, yeah, I mean, they seem to have the intelligence of at least a kid.
Yeah, at least.
At least.
Yeah, at least.
And I've known several people that I think were dumber than a chimp, that's for sure. You know? And chimps are actually better than humans at some tasks.
They can memorize long series of
numbers.
Yeah,
particularly that kind of thing. They're way better than
way better memories. Yeah. And really, if you had to interact with any of those two, just cold if somebody just said, "Look, you're going to have to meet a fucking chimp or a gorilla," and when you can't choose the chimp or gorilla, I would say, "Let me see the gorilla." You can deal with a gorilla a lot easier than you can a chimp.
I would also choose a gorilla because
they're a lot more chilled out.
Now, gorillas can also bite you and they can beat your ass, but they are generally, behavior-wise, a lot more chill.
And you can submit to a gorilla. If you submit, they won't kill you. A chimp will fucking kill you.
They'll just kill you anyway. They'll
kill you
just
anyway.
Go ham and they'll just fuck you up.
Yeah, and they'll gang kill you. There's 10 of them on you, tearing you apart.
Yeah, I would read because I've read because I'm kind of really interested in primatology. So I've read like several books about chimps and bonobos and gorillas and stuff like that. And of all the stuff that I've read, gorillas seem the chillest.
Yeah.
And I guess that makes sense because they're the biggest. They don't
big.
really have to be super aggressive because they're really big and they look intimidating.
Yeah.
So they don't really have to.
You're not a threat to them.
Right. I mean, they could pound you if they wanted to.
Yeah, they don't see you much as a threat.
No.
So they don't get scared, so they don't attack.
Yeah. Yeah, Jeff Yard said gorillas are super chill. Yeah,
Yeah.
they are generally pretty chill. Like I said, they'll fuck you up if you fuck with them, or if you fuck with their babies or something like that. But they're pretty calm. You know, in general. Like I said, chimpanzees, I wouldn't trust them, especially if it was a male over 8 years old.
I saw a video of dudes take an African. I think he's a forest ranger, a park ranger, is taking a selfie of himself, and there's a male gorilla sitting right next to him, looking at that damn cell phone.
It's like, what you got there?
He's looking at him the cell phone, and that fucking male gorilla turns to that dude and just kisses him. It's fucking hilarious. And he's a wild gorilla in a park. Kisses him on the face.
CB said Coco the gorilla hitting on Robin Williams was so funny. I remember that. Oh my god. I used to watch all that stuff about Coco. It's like I always remember the stuff about him having the kitten named Allball, because I always remember that because Allball was a Manx and Pookie is a Manx. So well, actually Bambi is a Manx too. So we have 2 Manx cats, and then it always makes me sad because Allball got run over by a car, and then they had to tell Coco about it, and he was like super upset. But yeah, so they got him another one, but still. But yeah, like I'm really fascinated by just apes and monkeys in general. So I have like a bunch of books about it. Well, like I said, I'm kind of into evolution type stuff, but I'm really interested in primatology, so I read a lot about that and like animal behavior in general. So I have a lot of books about that. But yeah, gorillas, I would pick a gorilla all day long. Even though chimpanzees are much smaller, they are much more aggressive, and they will fuck up your day big time. Whereas gorilla would probably just like lay there and be like, hey, what's up? You know? All right, so now here's what's interesting. Now, I don't know if this is true or not, but apparently, even before Ivanov was doing the human-Z thing, Gordon Gallup, who was an American psychologist, said that they had actually made a successful, I'm already suspicious, human-chimp hybrid in the 1920s in Florida, of all places, in the Orange Park Laboratory. Now, Gallup, I will note, I don't believe saw this firsthand, so again, I'm pretty suspicious. He said that he had a university professor who told him about it, and that what happened was that there was like a living offspring, but as soon as it was born, they felt really bad about it, and then euthanized it.
Oh, I missed part of this. Where was this?
I think this is a bullshit story, but
Okay.
no, I'm saying that there was a psychologist named Gordon Gallup who was an American. Okay. And he said that there was a human-ape hybrid, human-chimpanzee hybrid bred in the 1920s in Florida, like in the Orange Park Laboratory in Florida. Okay. And he said he didn't see it firsthand, but he heard about it secondhand from one of his professors. And they said that it was like they had the baby, like it gestated and they had the baby and everything like that.
A woman carried it?
I don't know. Like I don't know if it was done the other way around, or if they impregnated a female chimpanzee. I'm assuming it was female chimpanzee that they impregnated with.
And they euthanized it. What did he say was wrong with it?
Nothing. Well, like I said, he didn't see it firsthand. He was just hearing the story secondhand.
I don't buy it.
I suspect this is the 1920s. So I suspect that this story is made up.
Sounds like a Florida man story.
That definitely sounds like a Florida man story.
Because if a dude were to actually do that, he probably would have said, "Look, he would have tried to got rich off of it." I would think. I don't think he would have hid it unless he was afraid he was getting in trouble for it.
Or you know what? This is the skunk ape origin story.
Skunk ape story, do you? The skunk ape is a bear.
Yeah. Well, I know that. It's just a real stinky bear. But a lot of bears are stinky because they dig around in people's garbage for food, you know?
The skunk ape is a hoax.
I know it is.
Yeah.
But like I said, a long time ago, we used to say that Tom would put on a suit.
Yeah.
And like go and skulk around in the woods and like pretend he was skunk ape. And then I would like take some videos going, oh my God, it's skunk ape. Yeah. And then we put it up on YouTube and see what happened. Yeah. We never did that though. We were also going to like fake some UFO shit, but we never did that either. Yeah. I was like, well, we can't do it now because we already told everybody. Yeah. But, you know. So, yeah. Now, in more recent times, it seems, people have gotten more interested in doing this kind of shit. But like I said, not in the old-fashioned way where it's like, hey, let's get a chimp and knock it up with, human DNA or anything like that. They're doing it like in fucking petri dishes. You know what I mean? Now, in 2019, apparently, an international team of researchers working in China, because China don't give a fuck about
They'll do anything.
ethics or legality or anything like that, evidently. They actually said, and this was written up, so this is not necessarily bullshit, because this was actually written up in a scientific journal and everything like that in 2021. Like what they did, they were able to create chimera embryos that had human and monkey DNA. Now, what they wanted to do, not necessarily make a humanzee.
Monkey, not chimpanzee.
Yeah, apparently. Well, what the source I saw said monkey. So yeah, a chimpanzee is not a monkey. They're an ape. Even though a lot of people call them monkeys, but they're not. Monkeys.
Yeah, they're talking about.
Monkeys have tails.
Yeah.
But yeah, what they wanted to do was they were trying to grow organs for human transplantation, which I don't know why you'd need monkey DNA for that. I think they're full of shit. But they were actually grown in vitro, I guess. But they only let them, I don't know if they had second thoughts or if it just wasn't working out or something like that. It developed up to 10,000 cells, and then they said, fuck it, we're not doing it anymore. Like, they stopped the study. And that's what they said. Like, they wrote about it in a journal in 2021. So I don't know. They also, in 2021, there was a team led by a French biologist, and they were also trying to create human-monkey chimeras. Now, they got an embryo that was 10 human cells and 250 monkey cells, and it lived for 7 days, but then it perished. So, like I said, people are still working on it, but for whatever reason...
That doesn't sound like they're actually working on it in earnest.
But not really.
Because,
like I said, I'm not really sure.
Disprove that pretty quickly in a few years if you were really trying to. I don't think... I mean, you would think the difference between, say, a donkey and a horse is bigger than the difference between a human and a chimpanzee.
Yes.
And a horse and a donkey can create a mule. So you
Yes.
would think that a human and a chimpanzee could crossbreed.
But like I said, there are some differences in the reproductive...
the problem is how many chromosomes there is and shit like that.
And there are differences in the reproductive cycle. Like, not huge differences, but enough to, like, make
you might
a
be able to
difference.
overcome them in certain ways doing an artificial type
Yeah,
of situation.
you probably
would.
would.
You just got to get the sperm to the egg. You would think that you could probably do it. But it's kind of amazing that it hasn't appeared. So I guess you can't, because somebody would have done it by now.
Yeah, you'd think.
Yeah. And here's the thing, people would think, well, shit, man, you're going to make a monster. Chances are what would come out would probably look like a human. Probably wouldn't look very ape.
Like a real hairy human.
Might not even be hairy.
Yeah,
there's no telling with monkeys and apes. I mean, they look so different from one another, different hair patterns and shit. Might come out and it might look like a fucking alien gray. You don't know, fucking.
See, that's the thing about genetics.
It might come out and it might actually be an improvement.
And I think that's what scientists now understand that scientists back then didn't understand.
Yeah.
Is that genetics is very complicated.
Right.
And it's like, I think back then, especially, in the decades after Darwin, is that they were thinking to themselves, well, shit, we can just find this animal or this human that has this trait that we like and this other human that has a trait that we like, and we'll breed them, and then we'll have like a perfect human or a perfect animal or whatever. And it doesn't work like that. Like, the way that the genes all interact with one another is just so complicated that there is just no telling.
I mean, you literally,
what's going to come out the other end.
There's literally just no telling. Make a human-Z, and you're thinking this is going to be an ape-like or a human-like ape, and that may not be what comes out at all. What comes out might be a good-looking human being that's pretty intelligent, but it has kind of an animalistic kind of a look to it. You don't know. Like, it might have a slight muzzle, but other than that, looks like might be pretty pleasant to see. You know what I mean? Because look at a horse and a zebra crossbred. They look pretty good.
Yeah.
A tiger and a lion make a liger. That looks pretty good. It's huge.
Yeah, they're massive.
But you wouldn't think that it would be that big, but it is that big.
It's bigger than either.
Yeah, it's bigger than either. So you never can't tell what's going to happen.
And that's why they're like, huh,
Yeah.
look at that.
Yeah. So you might expect like a dumb monster, but it might come out pretty intelligent and look pretty good.
Because you never know what traits are going to be amplified.
Right.
You can't predict it. There's no way.
Yeah. Might want to look like one of them orc chicks from fucking World of Warcraft video game.
Ooh, and now
they look
Tom's
pretty
getting
good.
all-
Now it's fucking
Tom's not getting all
yeah, like
excited
okay,
about it.
yeah, all right. Yeah.
All right, I'll
Real
take
fucking
that.
musky, yeah. All right. Okay.
We like the animated porn. We like that.
Yeah.
Oh my god. Gilded
There's just
Age-
no talent.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. And like I said, I think that's what scientists now understand that a long time ago they didn't.
Yeah.
When they were trying to do these kind of ham-handed hybridization experiments.
Yeah.
Where they were just saying, well, like, we like this, like, X trait in this animal and X trait in this animal, so we're going to
Yeah.
put them together and get the best of both worlds. It's like, that's very likely not what's going to happen. But nowadays they understand that because it's just too complicated. Because now we
don't know
understand.
what genes are going to be tripped and which
Yeah,
ones are going to be
and there's
active.
no way of predicting
and
that.
new patterns can emerge.
Because there's a lot of randomness
Yeah.
in the system,
Yeah.
inherent in the system, which is a good thing.
Yeah, but a Zorse looks like a Zorse.
Yeah,
It's predictable. It's just that you can't predict it until you've done it.
right.
And you do it and you see what the tendencies are going to be like. If a humanity was possible, I think you would have seen one by now.
You would think, because I kind of feel like that would be something that some scientists would be doing on the
be like a
down low.
priority, like on the sly, trying to do that.
Yeah, like, because
And
come
then-
on, we're all interested
Right. Yeah.
to see what would happen. Like I said, it's not ethical to do it the way they did
Yeah.
it back in the day, but it's like we all kind of want to
Yeah.
admit it. We all want to see.
And what if that
it's
first
like.
one's a chick and it's hot? Dudes are going to be like, yeah, okay, make more of those. So you know what I mean?
Yes, please make more of
you
them.
don't know. You don't know, and it's like intelligent. It can speak and shit with the human intelligence, which chimps have good intelligence.
Yeah, I mean,
So I think it would probably not be dumb. It'd probably be
no,
pretty
I
intelligent.
don't think it would be at all. I'm just laughing at Gilded Age Phoenix says, "Dare to dream. I'm still dreaming about making Man Bear Pig a reality."
Man, bear, pig. Yeah,
I mean, sure.
yeah. Fucking global warming, man, bear, pig. Yeah.
I mean, we could see that. Camp Guy said you'd have to get the girl chimp really, really, really drunk.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean, yeah, she'd probably like go for it then.
We never can tell what the hair's going to be like. Might have some big fucking shock of fucking white hair on top or blonde. You don't know. You don't know what it'd look like.
Yeah, Jeffy Art said we probably can make hybrids, yeah, but the resources needed to splice the genes together may require a lot of resources. Even cloning has its X factors. I think Dolly, the sheep, was roughly the 60th attempt.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but with the human Z, they think no splicing is required. They think it should have been good enough to
close enough.
where some kind of sperm would fertilize some kind of egg.
Yeah. And I mean, cloning is slightly different because you're just kind of like cloning. I mean, if you're just cloning a sheep, it's just a sheep. You know what I mean? You're just making an exact copy
And splicing
of that
is
sheep.
is cheating. You're splicing a gene packet into a fucking to an established genome, so it's different. Like having a goat fucking lactate out spider web juice. You know what I mean? Like they have that. Remember that thing?
That'd be kind of rad.
It's a goat that's part spider.
Yeah.
Yeah. So its milk can be used to make fucking ballistic fucking nylon. Shit like that.
It seems there'd be an easier way to do that, but maybe not.
Probably is now.
I mean, come on. Can't we just use like a 3D printer for that
It's just a
nowadays?
genetically engineered goat that could do it.
That's what I mean. It's like, especially nowadays, I kind of feel like there's not much reason to do this kind of stuff because a lot of the shit can be done easier and cheaper in other ways.
Other ways, yeah.
You know? Like, why would you need a goat that could make spider web shit?
Yeah.
You wouldn't need that. You can make spider web shit. You could, like I said, you could just make it.
Yeah. Some kind of nylon.
You don't need it to be, like, organic. So, alright. So, finally, the last story.
Two-headed
We're
dog.
finally getting to the two-headed dog.
Yeah. This one was fucking... The two-headed dog, when I saw films of the two-headed dog and saw the whole story. And fucking the two-headed dog was fucking pitiful.
This is, yeah.
Fucking pitiful.
This is kind of terrible. Like I
Yeah.
said, the dude, I get what he was doing. And this dude, I have to say, was a pioneer in organ transplantation.
Yeah.
So got that going for him.
He was trying to work on how to make artificial hearts too and things like that. So this is part of that. How to keep a
so he
brain
wasn't
on.
just doing it for shits and giggles, but
Yeah.
it's still like pretty grotesque.
They told him not to do it anymore though. From what
Yeah.
I remember, they said, "Look, don't make any more."
And the thing that you have to think too,
Yeah.
this isn't excusing it. This was in the 1950s, and this was, still Soviet era, or 1940s, 1950s, and so dogs, like stray dogs, they didn't really do, like people didn't have dogs or spay them or anything like that. So it was just like stray dogs like running all over the place. So dogs were very, very commonly used in experimentation in Soviet era Russia, and I know that's not cool to think about, but
they were around.
That's just they were around, and they were just in the street, and
they were kind of a nuisance.
plentiful.
So they just used them,
and so they just used them.
Yeah,
and it's not. I mean, seeing the pictures and videos of this kind of shit is like not fun. Yeah. That's for sure. But yeah.
Tell it how it went down.
So this is Vladimir Demikhov. Again, another Soviet era scientist. And again, an organ transplantation pioneer. So we have to give him that, because he was like actually really like ahead of his time in that regard. Now, he actually started out doing heart transplants, and he actually did a successful heart transplant into a dog. Like, I think it was the first one. And he actually inspired the dude that did the first human heart transplant. You know what I mean? Like, that dude was like inspired by this guy. And he also did a whole heart-lung replacement that was viable. So he knew what he was doing, is what I'm saying. However, probably this cool shit that he did has been overshadowed by the two-headed dog thing. Because come on now, everyone's gonna leave with that. And another thing that this led to, sadly, another guy that was inspired by this guy. You know that dude? I think his name was Robert White in the 1970s. That did the monkey head transplants.
Yeah.
Like, where he would take, like, a head of a monkey and put it on another, like, a headless monkey's body.
Yeah.
And it kind of worked. And it worked out. I mean, it kind of worked out. But
the head stayed alive, but it was paralyzed because they couldn't reconnect the spinal column.
Yeah. I mean, they reconnected it kind of, but it wasn't real... it didn't work out too good.
No, I don't think that thing ever regained... It didn't regain mobility, from what I remember.
No, it couldn't, like, move around or nothing.
Right, yeah.
But it, like...
It stayed alive, though.
Yeah, it was alive, though. So...
They did a lot of this shit. They were trying to figure it out,
I just couldn't bring myself. I'm sorry.
I
like animals too much.
They were tougher back then. And they were...
Well, it's nothing to do with being tough. It's
they were
like...
tough.
They were almost like sociopathic.
No, they were tough, and they were trying to, like, well, if we can figure this out with animals, then we'll be able to save human lives. So
and I get that.
So we're going to sacrifice these animals in an attempt at fucking saving these human lives. So I understand that. I
understand that too, but I personally could not do it.
Yeah,
though.
it's a very soldierly way of looking at it. I mean, and if I was given a task like that, I'd fucking have to swallow them feelings and do it that way. Because there's a greater goal. My whole
and like I said,
my whole fucking career as a fucking combat fucking soldier was fucking goal-oriented, goal-directed violence, all right? Killing motherfuckers to get something done. This is just a medical version of that. We're going to kill these things to get something done to save other people. And it's always about saving other people. You're killing these dudes to save other ones on your side. So
yeah. Well, like I said, that's what I said at the beginning of the show, is that even though a lot of these experiments would be unethical by today's standards and seem very grotesque to us, especially when they're done on cute mammals.
Yeah.
You have to understand that there was a reason. They weren't just doing it for shits and giggles or to be cruel or anything like that. They were doing it for a purpose.
Yeah, their thinking is that we got this little girl that has this problem. If we knew this and this, we might be able to help this little girl. Yeah, you got to look at it from that way. You know what I mean?
But I will say that I don't know. Like, I kind of get where he was going with the two-headed dog thing. But I'm not really sure if that particular experiment was super necessary. Because he already knew... I mean, he was doing, like, heart transplants and stuff like that, which is super useful. And a lot of most of the heart transplants he did on dogs, like, early on, worked. and he worked up to it. Like he got
Yeah.
because he did like several heart transplants on dogs, and some of the first ones would only live a few days, but then they lived a few weeks, and he had one that lived 7 years.
Yeah.
Like after the heart transplant, so he got like better and better at it. So, like
Yeah.
I said, that is obviously has massive implications
on humans. Yeah.
and so that's like kind of a cool thing. Like sewing the head of a dog onto another dog, I'm not really sure. Like I kind of get why he wanted to do it. Like he had his reasons, but
He was trying to see if he could keep a head alive.
well, he wanted to
Life support.
see
What does it take?
if they
to
could
keep
both use the same circulatory system.
That's right.
Like if he could attach, you know what I mean? Which, like I said,
If I remember correctly, it was something along the lines where if a person's body was so fucked up, is there a way to artificially take that head off that body and have a machine or in some way to keep that head alive until you had a donor body and then attach
Yeah,
that head
that's-
to that donor body?
I mean, they're working up to head transplants
Right.
because that's what the dude like Robert
Head
White was doing
transplants.
in the 70s
Right.
with the monkeys, was
Yeah.
that what they were trying to do was help people who were perhaps like quadriplegics or, people who didn't have the use of their body anymore because their body had been ravaged by disease, but their brain
just
was
injury,
still
no limbs.
intact. Yeah.
No limbs.
And you could put the head onto a new body and you'd still be viable. So that's kind of what they're going for.
Yeah.
And they're still working on that, by the way.
Yeah.
But I don't
They can do it. The only problem is the spinal column. And you see, they have not been able to successfully fucking link the spinal column together. Once the head's cut off, to get all those fucking neurons for fucking reconnect in the proper order to control the body, they just can't do it. Now, some people have said that you might be able to put a fucking neural link in between there with a supercomputer, and the computer using fucking AI could figure out how to make the connections. So there'd be like an artificial connection between the two systems, bridging it. That was an interesting concept. And they were thinking about that decades ago. That's where I got that. That was in my memory from maybe 20 years ago. That'd be awesome.
Yeah, so like I said, their heart is in the right place, even though the
Yeah.
experiments sound grotesque. It's
Yeah.
just that
Back in those days, they thought they were going to get over that spinal column thing, though, quickly. They thought they'd be able to solve that.
it's a lot more complex than
Yeah,
they
it was too
thought
complicated.
back
Right.
then. Like I said, they're still working on it, but they still haven't really perfected it. Now,
Yeah.
from what I've heard in recent years, there's a doctor in China who is apparently doing some head transplants. But I don't know. I think he's still doing it on animals. He's not doing it on humans.
Yeah.
But he's still, they're like, well, they're pretty good, but still not there yet. You know what I mean? But I don't know if that's true or not.
And the spinal column gets connected where the animal can walk around?
Well, I don't know. That's
Okay.
what I'm saying.
All right.
He's just being kind of cagey about it.
Yeah,
about how,
yeah.
like fucking. So I don't know how.
Last I heard-
I don't know what point they're at.
Last I heard, they could attach the head, and the head could stay alive, and the body stayed alive, but they were paralyzed.
Which
from
is
the
kind of where they were in the 70s
They
with
were-
the monkeys.
Yeah,
like with
they were
Robert
paralyzed from the
White.
neck down.
Because he did put the head on the body
Yeah.
and everything, and the head was alive and it still lived and everything like that, but he couldn't really move the body around or nothing. He was still paralyzed. So Demikhov, an expert in what he termed transplantology.
Transplantology.
Yeah, he
Yeah.
invented that.
L. Ron Hubbard helped him.
Yeah, I guess that sounds like a very like Scientology thing. Transplantology.
Yeah.
So at some point in the 50s, he decides, I'm going to see if I can graft the head, and it wasn't just the head; it was the head and upper torso of a dog onto another dog, like just a regular intact dog. Just to see what happens, I guess. Now, I kind of feel like maybe people just know the 1-2-headed dog experiment. No. The one that they showed, like, that was the famous one that was in Life magazine and stuff, that was like the 23rd one that he had done. So that's the one everyone knows because that's the one that there's video and pictures of and stuff. But he had done it like many times before that. And more successfully because I kind of feel like that one didn't work out as well as some of the other ones had. So what he would do is he would take a little dog and he would, this is terrible, and he would cut off the dog. He would basically like cut them in half kind of, but just like right behind their forelegs. So it wasn't just their head. It was like up to their the back of their forelegs. And then...
So it was the spinal column and the front paws.
Yeah.
The front arms. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then
that's right, because I remember it had arms on it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then would graft it onto a bigger dog.
Yeah, German Shepherd looked like.
Yeah, I think the one that was in the famous experiment was a German Shepherd. Yeah, I don't know if they weren't all that, but it was usually like obviously smaller dog, bigger dog.
Yeah.
Just for practical purposes. Yeah, he wanted to see. I guess he wanted to kind of figure out like how the nervous systems would integrate, how the vascular systems would integrate. He was just curious to see. So these surgeries started in 1954, and he did these experiments 23 times.
He did 23 of those?
Yeah, that's what I just said.
Damn, I thought he only did one. He did a
No.
bunch of...
I just said.
Yeah.
I know you probably weren't listening.
Yeah,
but
probably reading.
But the one that was in Life magazine, the famous one.
Yeah.
That was actually the 24th one.
Wow, I didn't realize he was doing that many.
That he did in 1959. So he had been doing it for 5 years at that point.
So he fucked up over 100 dogs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Dickhead.
Yeah.
That's a lot of dogs, man.
It is a lot of dogs. Yeah. So he had done it 23 times. So the one that was in Life magazine, the 20.
Well, no, okay, 23 times. Then he did 50 dogs then.
Yeah.
More or less.
So
That's
the 24th one, which happened in 1959, which was the famous one that was in Life magazine, because here's the thing, just like nowadays, like he starts saying, "Hey, I'm making two-headed dogs," and people are like, "Bullshit."
Yeah.
So everyone thought he was just making it up. And so he invited Life magazine to come and video it and take pictures and like interview him and everything like that. So they did come there in 1959. So that's why he was trying to prove that it was real. Because everybody thought, because they saw the pictures of it and they were just like, what? No. But it was real. He did do it. So yeah, so the 24th attempt, like I said, he had actually had better success, as in the subject lived longer on some of the earlier ones. So this one wasn't the most successful attempt, but it did work. I mean, the dogs both lived for a time. So the one that was in Life magazine, the two dogs, and I hate to tell you, but they had names. He named them. I don't know why.
Yeah, dumbass.
The larger one was a German Shepherd, just like you said.
Yeah.
And its name was Brodiaga, which is Russian for tramp. And the littler dog was named Shavka. Now, obviously, the bigger dog is going to be the host dog, and the littler one's going to just be the head. You know what I mean? So they took Shavka and cut off all of the dog's body.
Except the front legs.
Below the forelegs.
Yeah.
And apparently, like, her own heart and lungs stayed connected until the very end, so they could make sure, like, until she was attached. You know?
Right. Yeah. It was a female.
The littler dog was.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't know if the bigger dog was. Now, so they made an incision in the larger dog's neck where they would put the other dog. This is so messed up. I can't believe anybody would actually do this in real life. But yeah, it's some serial killer shit. But so they had to, like, they reconstructed the operation. This was the 24th time they had done it, so they had it kind of done to a science at this point. It only took 3.5 hours for him and his team to do. So they reconnected, like, all the vascular shit. They tied their vertebrae together, like with plastic line or like fishing line or something like that. Like, they tied it all back together. Now, after a while, when the dogs were woke back up, like after the surgery, both of the heads woke up, and they could both hear normally. They could both see normally, smell normally, and they could both swallow.
Yeah, but the other one didn't have a stomach, though.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's the thing. Now,
Right.
They let the littler dog, and this is kind of messed up because this is in the video too, or like there's pictures of it. They let the littler dog drink water, like out of a bowl. But she wasn't, like, she didn't have her esophagus or nothing like that. It wasn't, like, attached to a stomach. Yeah. It was just
dripping back out.
Like this tube.
Yeah.
And I'm
they had a tube where it would just come out.
Oh my God, yeah. So it just, like, went on the floor.
Right, yeah.
And I'm like, oh my God, that's horrifying.
So that dog didn't eat.
No.
That was the end of that, because it had, but it didn't need to because it was getting nourishment from the other dog.
Yeah.
So it wouldn't starve. But that was the end of eating for that dog.
Yeah, it couldn't, like, it could eat, but it would just all come out.
Right.
like the tube at the bottom.
Yeah.
That's messed up.
What else did you have in there?
So, I mean, the host dog, the big dog, could still function normally, other than it having suddenly
dog on its back.
another dog attached like right next to its head.
Yeah.
Which is kind of weird. Now, this particular dog didn't live as long as some of the other ones that he had done, but I think he did live a week or a couple weeks or something like that. Most of the ones he had done, I think, lived. Some of the worst ones like just lived a few days. Some of them actually lived several weeks. But then like something would always come up, like, you know, organ rejection, infection, circulatory failure, something of that nature would come up and they would die. Now, obviously, the public, when they found out about this, I think he kind of thought he was just trying to prove that he was really doing it, and everyone would be like, hey, cool, man. But when it came out, everyone was fucking horrified.
Yeah, don't do that to those dogs.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, like I said, even though I do think, like, some of the stuff that he did on these fucked up experiments did kind of help out in other kind of ways, like later transplant kind of stuff, because, like, that was kind of his field, you know what I mean? It does seem like these particular experiments, I'm not sure, like his transplantation stuff for real, like heart transplants and stuff, that was hugely influential, and that was hugely important. But this, I'm sure it probably had some practical applications, but I don't really know.
Were there any accounts about the stress on the dogs? Did the dog on the back know what the hell's going on?
I don't know. It didn't really like...
You're like, what the fuck is this? What the hell's going on? Where's the rest of him? What the hell?
Right.
Yeah, it'd be weird.
I mean, yeah.
Yeah, what was the disposition of the dogs once they woke up?
Yeah, I mean...
Were they barking?
I don't know. I gotta pee real quick.
Did she have lungs? She didn't have lungs, did she?
No.
She didn't have lungs, so she didn't breathe.
Nope.
Damn.
Well, that's kind of one of the things that you want to explore, you know?
That's some weird shit. You just got this parasitic dog on your back, and it doesn't even breathe, and it doesn't eat. Well, it's only a couple weeks, but still, that's some fucking cold shit. Damn, let's see what everybody's saying. Yeah, Hugo's is kind of like Sarah Jessica Parker and the Chihuahua. He's talking about fucking Mars Attacks when they put her head on the Chihuahua body. That was funny. Phantom says it's official. He's gone blind from all this science talk. Yeah, that'd be weird. I remember seeing video, not video, but film, black and white film of that dog. And just from what I remember, the German Shepherd looked normal because, you know, life hadn't changed much for it. But I remember the dog on the back was looking around like, what the fuck is going on? You know, I think the dog on the back, if I remember correctly, had a pretty scared look on its in its eyes.
I mean...
Like, what the hell's happening?
I kind of feel like...
I can't eat and I can't breathe.
I can't imagine what was going through that poor dog's head.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what I'm saying. It's that even though I understand that animal experimentation is necessary in some circumstances, probably not so much nowadays, but
back then they had to know.
Back then they had, when they didn't know as much.
Why do you keep the front legs? Was there a reason for the front legs?
I'm not entirely sure. Like maybe he wanted to see. Maybe he wanted to see if they would still, if he could still move them.
They couldn't though. It looked paralyzed.
It didn't. Yeah. Honestly, the ones that I saw, it didn't look like they could move the legs. They were just flopping around.
Yeah.
But maybe that's what he was curious about, to see if they could still move the leg. But it doesn't look like they could. You know what I mean? I'm not sure. I'm just extrapolating.
It was some wild shit.
It is like pretty fucking wild. But yeah. So, like I said, the dude that did the first heart transplant, the first human heart transplant, which was in 1967, like praised this dude, saying, because he was the first one that had done a heart transplant in a dog. Well, he did several successful heart transplants in dogs, so he was kind of like acknowledging his, contributions to the field. But still, a lot of people were really bothered by the two-headed dog thing. Rightfully so, honestly, because this is, like I said, this is kind of some Frankenstein shit. You know what I mean? Now, so the thing about it, the dude, here's a fun fact. This dude also assembled the world's first collection of living human organs for surgical use. I just found that little tidbit on Wikipedia, and I thought that was kind of interesting. So he actually lived until quite an old age. He died at the age of 82 in 1998 in an aneurysm. And he got a bunch of awards for his stuff, like in Soviet Russia. But he basically got, I think when he died, like in 1998, he got the Order of Merit for the Fatherland, 3rd class. I don't know what that means. That sounds kind of dismissive, but okay. But yeah, so like I said, I'm kind of two minds about this one because it's dogs. We love dogs. Everybody loves dogs. And grafting a dog onto another dog.
That's some weird shit.
It seems like I don't see the immediate purpose of it.
From what I remember, it was just an experiment to see if they could keep a head alive.
Which I get that.
And I thought it had something to do with kind of like creating machines to keep head alive to the point to where you had a donor body. And you could fucking take that head off.
Yeah, because there was another scientist, also a Soviet, I can't remember what his name was, but he evidently had that machine that kept the dog head alive.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
There was a machine that could do it too.
Right.
Yeah. Right.
There was like, because there's a video of it. I don't know if the video is real or if it's just like a reenactment, but he was like really doing that shit. So, but head transplant shit, which is kind of what this is, they've been working on that for a long time. And like I said, it was mainly geared toward, for quadriplegics and things like that, or people whose bodies have been injured irreparably or something of that nature, but their mind was still intact and it's like they wanted to put their head on a new body. So that's kind of what they were. So I could, like I said, I could see what the applications of that would be, but it just does seem a little gruesome.
Yeah.
To be put in like
you
cute
gotta
little
try
dog.
it out on something before you try it out on people. That's what they're doing.
I know,
yeah.
But like, shit, man. Why a dog though? I mean, I get
it's big enough to work on.
I get.
And they were,
I don't know. It just really
they were
bothers
free.
me.
They were just running around.
It does. You know what's weird? It's like the heart transplant doesn't bother me as much.
Yeah.
Because obviously that's
but they have to kill one dog to get the heart and put it in
That's
there.
true.
They had to kill a dog to put that. They're still killing another dog.
I mean, they're still killing dogs.
And then that dog dies from the transplant. So,
I don't know.
But it's just more useful because they're trying to get that a heart transplant in a human is possible.
Yeah, which it is because they do that all the time.
This was
now.
just a kind of fringe shit. They wanted to see if they could keep a head alive by using a donor body. Because theoretically, you might be able to say, well, okay, well, this dude here, he's going to die. Let's take his head off and we'll attach it to this dog, and the dog will keep it alive for a couple months, and we'll find another donor body.
That'd be weird if they attached a human head to a dog for a little while.
That might be what they were thinking about. Who knows?
Wasn't that in Mars Attacks or something?
Yeah. Yeah. So, who knows what they're thinking
Sarah
about.
Jessica Parker had a dog body for a little while.
Although you would think that a machine would be more viable.
Yeah, I mean, why go through all the trouble of like
Right.
attaching it to another? Because that's a huge process.
That's a huge
Like
process.
attaching all those little organic.
Yeah,
fucking,
it'd be easier just to go ahead and fucking just
stick your head on them.
attach arteries and seal things off and fucking.
If they got really good at it, they could just
Put
have like a
oxygenated blood
headless
through it.
like robot thing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it kind of looked like a real body, and like so you kind of wouldn't feel weird, I guess, having a disembodied head on a fucking robot body. And then later on, we'll get you a body. You can just kind of stand there in the
Well, you
corner.
wouldn't be breathing because you don't have a lungs. So probably what would happen is you'd be a head floating in a vat
Yeah.
of fluid.
We're just gonna,
Probably what it would
we're
be.
just gonna put you in
Because
the jar.
they try to keep your
Put you in
skin.
the jar for a little
They're trying
while.
to keep because you know what I mean. They're putting oxygenated blood and fucking nutrients in the fucking vat. You know what I mean to keep the cells in your fucking brain going. Who knows? But I suspect it'd be a head in a tank. They'd pull you up to talk to you so you could hear them, and then they'd put you back in the tank
Have you seen that
until
movie?
they had a body.
The movie from the 1950s. I saw it on MST, and it was one of the best episodes. It's either called The Head. What is it called? Oh shit! I just had it. It's not The Head That Wouldn't Die. It's The Head That Wouldn't Die or The Brain That Wouldn't Die.
Yeah.
And the story is there's a dude who's a surgeon who's this kind of freewheeling like we got to experiment on shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And his girlfriend is decapitated in a car accident, and her body's burned up. So he takes her head back to a lab and puts her head in like a lasagna pan.
I remember that.
And with all this
things
sciencey things.
Yeah.
And keeps her alive. And she's like alive and talking and stuff, even though she doesn't have lungs, which is crazy. Yeah. And they like make jokes about it too. It's like, wait, how is she talking? She doesn't have, or how is she breathing? She doesn't have lungs. It's like, it's okay. She's got neck juice. Yeah. You know what I mean? Because they have this special whatever the fuck it is. And then he goes out, because you can tell it's like an exploitation movie. Then he goes out like trolling like fucking strip clubs and stuff like that, looking for a body,
the hottest body he can fucking find. Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, that tracks. That's exactly what would happen.
Get the hottest fucking stripper, those triple F fucking breasts and shit, and big old fucking ass on her.
As it turns out, the one he wants is this woman that he knows that's like an artist model.
Okay.
And she actually has a scar on her face.
Okay.
Even though she's like really beautiful. So he figures, well, her face is already kind of fucked up.
So we'll get rid of that.
So she won't mind.
She won't mind.
If we lop her.
If we take her head
and
off.
put another one on there.
She don't need that head. That's some 50s thinking there, Jimmy.
I know. That's what's so kind of awesome about
you
that
won't mind
movie.
to die. You got a scar on your face.
Yeah. It's like,
the 50s were the shit, bro.
And it's like, and you couldn't even see it because her hair kind of covered it up. But it's just like, it's fucking, it's a hilarious episode. Yeah. Like, they made so many. I mean, and I love that they called the headless lady, I don't know what her character name was, but they called her Jan in the Pan. And they even did a skit where one of them like dressed up as her, like a head in a fucking pan. It was like, because it looked like a fucking casserole dish or some shit like that he was keeping her in. Oh my god. Yeah, Tammy says The Thing with Two Heads. Yeah, I just watched that a couple months ago. I think it was on like Amazon Prime or something, but I was like, it was on Amazon Prime, but it was a Riff Tracks. Riff Tracks just did it not too long ago, and I watched it on there. I had heard about that movie because they made jokes about it, and I was like, I gotta see this shit. So I just fucking watched it. I mean, why? They made some weird-ass fucking movies in the 60s and 70s. I mean, the concepts, you can tell everybody was on drugs back then because of the fucking concepts they came up with. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Oh, so Xanada tells me about the Order of Merit for the Fatherland. So the Order for Merit for the Fatherland is the highest Russian civilian award, according to Google. There are 4 classes. So is third class good, or is it kind of like, meh, you're kind of near the bottom of the shit? I mean, it sounds like first class would probably be the best thing. Yeah. But third class, you're like, yeah, you're all right. It's kind of that kind of thing. All right, so it's 10:30.
Yeah, my girl Misty says Chrissy Lynn Peaks back in the day. She changed her name. She was half naked. Before. Yeah, and fucking, I don't remember. I remember that name, but I can't really place it.
I love how 80s porn stars always had like
3 names.
Euphemisms for boobs in their names.
Yeah.
I feel like the names back then were a lot more overt.
Yeah.
Chesty Morgan.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
Come on now.
Misty would know. She was in the dancing industry and stuff. I can't remember what that one actually looked like, but I can picture what type she was. She was one of the ones with the gigantic implants.
Wasn't there one called Misty Mountains?
Probably.
Or something
if there
like
was,
that.
There should have been one. Fucking Pandora Peaks. Tiffany Towers. She was one from Canada. She was fucking huge. But she took them out eventually. They were smaller but still big.
She probably had back problems.
Yeah, she was like a kid. She's like 19 with these fucking huge fucking implants.
Please tell me when there was one called like Nadine Knockers or something like that.
I don't remember that one. No.
Okay, that's gonna be my porn name.
No, they were real fucking basic catchy
or
names.
Nia Knockers. I think that would be better.
And they got into a trend where every one of these bitches, their middle name was Lynn.
Well, yeah.
Lynn. Yeah,
isn't that a really super common middle name? I've known a lot of people. Well, not dudes obviously, but I've known a lot of girls with that middle name.
Well, what it was
either Anne or Lynn. Most of the people I know have that middle name.
What it was is there was a lot of famous a lot of famous porn stars that had Lynn as a middle name, and they all kind of looked similar. Yeah. So you could tell by the name what she was going to look like, because they were kind of all stepping on each other's fucking tits, basically.
Yeah.
Trying to outcompete one another. Yeah.
Just kind of like all those Bruce Lee impersonators.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's like, I'm
Bruce Lee
with 1 E.
Yeah.
I'm Bruce Lee with 3 E's.
Yeah.
I'm Bruce Lee with an I.
Yeah.
I'm Bruce Leibowitz, the
Yeah,
Jewish
yeah, Bruce Lee with the Jewish fucking
Yeah.
Bruce Lee. Yeah.
Please tell me there was one of those. That'd have been so fucking funny.
If not, that's a movie I'm gonna make. We're gonna make that movie. Well, they had a Jewish Bruce Lee. That's fucking Steven Seagal.
Okay,
He was Jewish.
that doesn't count.
Well, he thought he was Italian. He thought he was black. He was whatever.
Yeah, he's
ethnicity
whatever
he needed at the time.
That's
He'd
why it
even
doesn't.
go Oriental if you started asking him about his training back in Japan.
That's why it
he
doesn't
start
count.
going Japanese on you. You know, fucking
Turning Japanese.
do
I
his
think
fucking
it's-
something else, man. A total fucking flim flam artist. But I love Steven Seagal.
I can't believe you wore your Flock of Seagal shirt the other day.
God damn, man, that dude.
You haven't worn that in such a long
I haven't
time.
worn it in a while. Fucking Steven Seagal.
Now I'm gonna go look up some like fun
Yeah.
porn names.
Funny thing about
They're not as fun as they
funny
used
thing
to.
about Steven Seagal is that I like Steven Seagal's early movies. Some of them were good. Under Siege was really good. Fucking Hard to Kill was really good. Under Siege 2 was pretty good. I had a good time watching that one. But I never saw Fire Down Below. They said that's when he really went sideways, and I got to see that one. If somebody wants to send me that bitch, I'll send it to me and I'll review it.
Fire
And-
Down Below. That sounds like a
What's that?
STD.
And then, yeah, Fire Down Below. Like, oh, shit, man. I got burned.
It hurts when I pee.
Yeah. So,
That's the tagline.
yeah. But pretty much any Steven Seagal movie after that kind of doesn't have him in it, and they're just extremely boring. They're not even bad movies. Well, they're not even so bad that they're fun to watch. They're not fun to watch at all. You know.
Well, that's the
He's
problem.
not really in the movie. He's got stunt doubles doing all this shit, and then he's dubbed in his own movie because he doesn't want to do the voice.
They shot all his scenes in one afternoon, bro. He just
Yeah,
like sat in a warehouse.
They wove
and
him
they did
in.
a close up on his face,
Yeah,
and he
yeah,
just
yeah,
talked
yeah.
some shit, and that's
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
And then
when-
everyone else did the rest. Of
Whenever
it.
he's in there, he's like in his 50s. He's very fucking overweight, and his love interest is fucking 21, Asian, and like fucking 95 pounds. Yeah, it's
It's
constantly.
like, sorry, bro, that would not happen
Yeah.
in real life. I mean,
Yeah, he's
unless you
fine.
like had a bajillion
Yeah.
dollars, and she was waiting for you to die so she could
Yeah.
inherit it.
But Under Siege was awesome. I loved that one.
It was alright.
I liked it.
He wasn't like too.
Well, it had
smarmy.
Tommy Lee Jones in it,
Yeah,
and it had fucking
and the Busey,
and Busey was in it.
which always
They really
makes
kind of
things
carried
better.
the movie.
Although Tommy Lee Jones, like, I was not
Yeah.
buying him being like this kind of gang member type of person that they were trying to sell him as with that outfit that he was in.
Well, no, he was dressed up as a rock and roll
Oh, that's right.
guy. Remember, he infiltrated by being in a
Oh,
band.
that's right. Yeah,
He
I forgot
wasn't a
about
gangster. He was an ex-special operations
That's
guy.
right. I forgot
He was
about
trying
that.
to hijack the boat.
All I remember was the ridiculous outfit.
They were stealing the nuclear war Tomahawk missiles is what they were stealing.
That's
They were
right.
going to give it to a fucking submarine that was waiting for it.
Good thing that cook was
It was not
good at everything.
It was nothing more than fucking Die Hard on a boat.
Yeah,
Die Hard on a ship. That's what it was.
except not as good.
Not as good as Die Hard.
I
Still
mean,
fun though.
Very few movies are as
Yeah,
good as Die
yeah.
Hard. Just gonna say
Die
that.
Hard 2, I remember that one not being that bad, but I think I remember Die Hard 3 being pretty bad.
I haven't seen them in a long time.
Yeah.
We just saw one like not too long ago,
Yeah.
and it's still awesome. But I don't remember the other ones.
Yeah, Xander says he looked like he might be able to fight in Hard to Kill. Yeah, he was in better shape back then. He was totally full of shit though. You know, fucking Aikido is not a really good, effective fighting system. MMA is. He'd get his fucking ass kicked. He was an actor.
Well, especially nowadays.
He was an actor.
Even back then, he would have.
He was an actor that did have some martial arts training. But then he bullshitted his way through the rest of it. He fucking bullshitted that motherfucker live.
Which, I mean, you
Yeah.
got to give him credit. He
Yeah.
successfully bullshitted
Oh yeah. Well, for a while.
for a while.
Then people didn't like him. He got blackballed. Got blackballed. From
He
Hollywood.
probably would have gone a lot farther with the bullshitting if he was like a nice dude and like didn't
And funny.
and didn't take himself so seriously.
Oh no, yeah.
But people that take themselves too seriously, people are gonna get sick of you real quick.
And they were making whenever they would invite him on a fucking talk shows and shit, the host would try to ask him very uncomfortable questions about where he was trained and what kind of fighting. They would talk about Japan, and he really didn't. I don't think he was in Japan, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, so he
Or very little.
well, here's the thing: if he didn't want people to ask him that, then shut your fucking hole
yeah,
about it.
Yeah.
Like they're asking you that because you put that out there. Don't
Yeah.
get mad because you actually bullshitted and you
Yeah.
don't actually know
And
anything
it was
about
obvious
that.
to me that he was lying.
Right.
So, and anything was obvious to them, so they
He's
kept
just
harping on it.
He's just pissed off because
Yeah,
he's like,
yeah,
fuck,
yeah.
they're calling me out on my bullshit and I
Yeah,
don't really know any of this
yeah.
stuff, so he'd get like all cranky. But that's his
We're
own
totally
fault.
off topic, but the show's kind of over. But this
Yeah,
is,
I mean,
this is the
I
a-
got through all my
This
notes.
is the after show.
I got through all my
The
notes.
thing with
Well, if we're
Seagal-
gonna do an after show, give me another drink then, even though it's 10:30. But
Yeah, it's
that's all-
10:30.
That's all right.
It's not gonna be long enough. The thing with Seagal is that he was coming out of an era where fucking martial artists had real fighting kind of credibility, kinda. I mean, Chuck Norris actually did some fighting. All right, he could fight. Bruce Lee was not really a fighter. He was more of a dancer. He did do some kung fu type matches and shit. They have a video, a film of him, and he did pretty well. And he would be able to fight. Actually, it's just that why would he fight? Fucking, he was making movies. I mean, he was making money. If he were to start fighting for a living, he would have lost money and gotten hurt too. You know, and he had money. He had movies to make.
Yeah, there was really no reason to do
So
that.
there was a certain mystique about martial arts in that time, and Steven Seagal is trying to play off that. So he's really trying to make his credentials. And Frank Dux was out there. Frank Dux was fucking the biggest liar of all times. Said he was doing all kinds of special operations, CIA assassinations, and all kinds of fucking crazy shit. The Kumite, the Divmock, all the whole fucking 9 yards. And I don't think fucking Seagal really fucking knew what the fuck was going on. So he just lied his way along with everybody else, but he wasn't as good at it. And he wasn't very likable. So
Yeah,
they
that
were
was a
always
big-
trying to embarrass him when
That
they
was a
would.
big thing.
They would
yeah.
try to embarrass him because he was a stuffed shirt all the time. Kind of
Yeah,
like, and I
'cause
think he was trying to be like, I think he was actually trying to be like Chuck Norris. Because Chuck Norris was a stuffed shirt, man. He was not very likable.
Chuck Norris is also kind of a chode.
Yeah, he was kind of a chode. Took
I mean,
himself real seriously. and
Yeah,
just
which, like
no
I said, nobody
no
wants
sense
to.
of humor.
Nobody wants to hang out with people like
Yeah.
that. You just don't.
No sense of humor. Chuck
People-
Norris really thought he was some kind of law enforcement agent or something.
People that are too up themselves,
Yeah.
as the British say,
Yeah.
and can't laugh at themselves.
Yeah.
I can't stand being around people
Yeah.
like that, and most people can't stand being around people.
To
like that.
Seagal's credit, lately I saw him doing shit on YouTube, and he does laugh at himself now.
Maybe he learned from
Yeah,
everybody telling
yeah.
him. Maybe somebody actually did like sit him down
Right.
and tell him, "Look, this is the reason
Yeah.
why everyone thinks you're a dick."
Yeah. and Seagal did have some shit that was good in his favor. He really could play guitar. He could sing. He's pretty good. He's not bad. He's very good. Probably better at music than he is fucking acting, I would say. But
That's a low
and
bar.
he got so many Russian women pregnant. It's not even fucking funny. I think he's got fucking 40 kids in Russia and like fucking 6 ex-wives.
Ew.
He colonized Russia. That's where he lives. Because he can't come back to the United States. I think he's facing rape charges or sexual assault charges.
Yeah, that's what I heard.
Yeah. Trying to give bitches shiatsu breast exams. Looking for lumps of cancer. He'd actually come up and say that to chicks. You know, I'm a shiatsu master. I can find lumps of cancer lumps and shit like here. Let me see. You know, and evidently nobody would buy that shit even back in the day.
Of course
just,
not.
He's just like, get the
They're
fuck
like,
out.
"Look, get the fuck away from me, or I'm gonna tase you." All right. The fuck? You think
Okay,
anybody,
man,
You
let's
think
shut
anybody's
the-
gonna buy that? Come on. How stupid are you? That is like the worst.
Fuck you, funny.
I've heard some stupid pickup lines in my
Yeah.
life, but that's gotta be in the bottom 5.
Yeah. Fuck, man. And then fucking Seagal didn't know when to shave his head. Fucking his hairline got worse and worse, so he would just paint it darker and darker and sharper. His hairline was just a fucking black V. He spray painted
I
on
think
that
at this point he just draws it on with a Sharpie.
Just draw this shit.
I'm convinced. And maybe he just kind of has two,
Yeah.
like, he kind of has a shiny one and a matte one, so he can kind of get a little
Yeah.
bit of dimension.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And he'd fucking put on these recently.
Well, he doesn't do it himself. I'm sure he has
was
somebody else do it.
Putting on these Aikido fucking shows in Russia where his students are running at him and he's just doing like this and they go flying. And fucking Putin's up there in the bleachers fucking looking at that shit, smiling, going, this motherfucker's full of shit.
Do you even believe this shit? Come on, now.
Evidently, fucking Putin fucking thinks he's hilarious.
It's like his court
It's
jester
like met,
and everything.
it's like met him and like going, yeah. And he took something from him. I don't remember what it was. I think he took something
His
from him.
virginity?
No, he took a ring or something from him.
That would have been funny if he took his
Yeah,
ass virginity.
Putin just saw he had some kind of ring on. He just took it from him.
Hey, Victor says, I'm going to Japan in March.
Oh, who said
That's
that?
cool. Victor.
Okay, yeah.
That's cool. I always kind of wanted to go there. Like, you got to tell us what it's like. I don't know if I'll ever be able to afford to go, but I would actually really like
Korea
to go.
would be more reasonable.
It probably would. I wouldn't mind going to Korea either.
Yeah, I liked Korea.
That would be pretty cool.
Yeah. Take you to Hooker Hill. You'd love it.
You gonna take me to Hooker Hill?
Yeah, man. No,
What, you gonna go bang hookers and I'm gonna stand outside looking at my watch?
Hooker Hill was not just
Nobody has
about
watches anymore.
Hooker Hill was not just about hookers. It was nightclubs.
Okay.
You could hang out there.
All right.
Yeah.
Just wondering if you were trying to get me
No,
into something.
no, it was Hooker Hill was just nightclubs and fucking. Evidently, it's not like it was, but it's nightclubs and shit and bars.
Jeffy Hart said Seagal's got a
The
few
girls
kids.
would love you up there.
Probably they would.
Yeah, they'd fucking think you were a trip.
Chicks dig me.
Yeah, they think you were a trip.
Jeffy Hart said Seagal's got a few kids in Japan. One of them was in the Gamera reboot back in 1999.
Oh, really?
I did not know that.
All right. So he's colonizing all continents. Yeah.
Gross. He's like that. He's like that sperm donating motherfucker that we saw
Yeah.
that documentary on
Yeah.
Netflix about.
Yeah.
Like that was he Norwegian or Danish or whatever?
Yeah.
Scandinavian.
They're even bleaching out Africa is what they said.
Yeah, that's what those dudes were doing.
Well, the African-
not that guy, but like other dudes that he. There's like a whole little
Whole bunch of-
subculture.
Also, all these fucking African women buying these white dudes'
This
sperms. and
sperm.
shit. Yeah.
Ew.
They even fly them down there and they can live on the premises, no rent free.
And just jerk it
Just
in
to
a
fucking
cup
jerk
and-
it in his cup over and over again, and then all these fucking high end kind of Nigerian chicks fucking having these light skinned babies. It's an amazing world we live in.
Yeah, it's kind of weird.
Yeah, it's weird.
Like I said, nothing I can do about it, is there?
It's just
All you can just
people
sit
do what
back
they
and
do,
go,
man.
huh?
Yeah.
All right.
Wow. All right.
That's a thing that happens.
Yeah. It's
All
amazing.
It is.
And they're fucking. Those dudes were online, fucking laughing about it.
Yeah.
We're down here just bleaching out Africa. We were colonizing
Yeah.
it. So there's that.
Yeah, like, so what was the fucking name of that? It was a Netflix documentary.
I forgot what it was called.
It wasn't about those dudes, but it was about one dude in particular that had done this a bunch of times.
Yeah.
Like, he was a sperm donator,
Yeah.
and they have all
He
these...
was an underground sperm.
They have all
donor.
these laws about it where it's like, you're only... Because they don't want people, having, like, so many kids, like, that are related, and then
Then
they
they're
grow
all
up, and
interbreeding.
then they're interbreeding without people
Yeah.
knowing about it. So it's like, they try to restrict it.
These dudes have thousands of kids each.
But they're doing it, like, on the down low. Like,
Yeah.
they used to, like, on Craigslist and, like, these
Yeah.
kind of little underground websites and stuff where they
Yeah.
would just, like, go to a girl's house and be like, hey, I can either bring you some sperm or jerk off in your house
Or I
and
can
give you a
fuck you.
cup, or I can fuck you.
Yeah. And a lot of
Yeah.
them go for the, go ahead and fuck me.
Yeah. Because he
Oh,
wasn't
my
bad looking. He was,
Yeah.
not really my thing. But,
But it's funny because there's like, they each one of those dudes, there's two main ones. One of them looked like the bald-headed dude from Prometheus.
yeah.
Big motherfucker. And they estimate that each one of those dudes has thousands of kids. All across the world.
Yeah. They're not even really sure
Yeah.
how many they have because that one dude who was the Netflix documentary was about, I can't remember what his
Yeah.
name is. But he was Scandinavian. He was somewhere from Danish or
Yeah.
something. I think he was from Denmark. And he traveled all over the world doing this stuff. So they have no idea like how many children this dude has. You know what I mean? It could be thousands.
Yeah.
Because they know that he has a few hundred like just in one small area of Denmark. They didn't know until like later on what he was doing.
And what's funny is that they got YouTube channels where all their children can fucking listen to them fucking preach their philosophies and shit. They're going on about their philosophies about life. So they think they're raising these armies of children through YouTube.
Yeah, this dude in particular, he's
Yeah.
a fucking weirdo.
Weird.
I don't know
Yeah.
what his deal is.
Weird.
He has a Messiah complex.
But
big time.
they got banned from Europe because they spread too much seed.
Yeah,
So
because
they
like
went
I said,
down-
they restrict that shit.
Yes, they went. They
To
were like
keep
they were taking them to
at
court,
bay. Yeah.
threatening them and shit. So they went down to Africa. Fucking weird world, man.
Yeah, it was like when we saw that documentary, because I just picked
Yeah.
it randomly, and like we watched this documentary, I was like, well, this is a thing that I didn't know existed until today.
Yeah.
But now that I know, I'm just like, why am I even
Yeah.
surprised? I'm not surprised.
This is how dangerous this is. Those two dudes are gonna have fucking thousands of offspring in those sub-Saharan African countries, and they're gonna make an entire fucking race of kind of light-skinned people, and they're all related to one another, and they're all going to start dating each other, the inbreeding problem is going to be fucking massive.
Yeah, well, that's why they're
all going to be fucking.
That's why
half-brothers.
like legal sperm donation.
Yeah.
That's why they limit it to, you know, your sperm donation we can only
Right.
give it to like 25 people or whatever. Like different countries have different, but it's usually just like a couple dozen. Like after that, you can't donate sperm anymore.
Yeah.
Like after they give it to 25 people or whatever.
Yeah.
So, and that's why, because you can't have like thousands of people that are all related to each other without knowing it.
Yeah, and
like
they're all
in one,
marrying
like-
each other.
Right. In like one little area, and like
Yeah.
all kind of fucking problems are going to happen.
Yeah, because people tend to be attracted to people who look like them, and that's what's
Yeah,
gonna
and
happen.
who are kind of like them.
Yeah.
So yeah. So
And that's
that's
what's
going to
gonna
be a
happen.
big problem.
Yeah,
And yeah, so they're trying to prevent that, but this dude is like,
there's not enough gene pool there.
Yeah.
Not enough fathers.
yeah.
So if you're white and you want to go you better go help them out. Give them some diversity now. Get us some genetic diversity down there.
Yeah, because genetic
Because there's
diversity
only
is
two
good.
white
You
dudes.
can't-
There's only two white dudes fucking doing that to all of Africa. That's not enough. There's gonna be bad inbreeding.
I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
There's going to be all kind of fucking genetic anomalies happening
Yeah.
down there.
2 heads and shit, 3 arms.
Yeah, like I said, there's all going to be all kind of
Low
defects.
intelligence.
All kind of defects.
Yeah.
It happens. Yeah. All right. So,
Just go ahead and shut it
man,
down.
it's 11:45.
Yeah, just get some sleep.
I'm kind of hungry too, but you know,
Yeah, I got stuff
guess
down
that-
too.
All right, so we're gonna wrap it up this evening. Hopefully, you guys enjoyed the show about mad science. We'll be back again on Friday night, as we always are, for our sidetrack show, where we just drink and talk about bullshit. I mean, even more than we do on this show, because obviously we do that too. But yeah, thank you very much for stopping by and hanging out with us this evening. Thank you very much for your super chats, and we will see you again on Friday night.